team is fun, but I'm afraid to lose.
Don't worry! Team up with friends. Rank up faster, rank up faster. Go and rank up, radiant protection. Go and rank up.
Bonus points!
Go and rank up.
Double challenge point for you.
No matter what, just team up with friends. Just team up with friends. Just team up with friends.
Here's Messi, away from 2, 3, 4.
The world's best player shows us just what he's about to get.
Is this on? Oh, great. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my secret lair. Everything is getting put together right now. Perfect. This here is testing stage that ensures your safety during your ride. They are currently debugging the hub. Look how it goes. Boy, it is powerful and agile. Doesn't that just make you want to give it a go? Only after careful inception will the equipment be ready for release. All of this equipment can help you achieve victory. Get ready. Join us now.
Disfrutar el juego.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. You're currently tuning in to the official broadcast of the PUBG Mobile Global Championships 2022. And we're currently tuning in to day number 2, or should I say, the last day of the Last Chance qualifiers, featuring 16 teams and only 5 will move forward to the main event, which will happen early next year. And of course, joining me right here is none other than Mafioso from Team A7. You guys know this. They're currently in second place. So you guys had an amazing performance yesterday. 1 winner in chicken dinner. And of course, you guys stumbled a little bit on game number 2. But so far, overall, number 2, right? So are you confident that you'll be playing well today? And how is the team looking right now?
Então, ele parabenizou a equipa por jogo muito bem feito ontem, que estão no top 2 e com uma vitória de chicken dinner. O que vocês vão fazer hoje? Estão confiantes que vão ficar na mesma posição?
A gente está muito confiante hoje, porque a gente vem trabalhando muito para trazer um bom resultado aqui nessa Last Chance. Então, hoje a gente vai fazer o mesmo jogo de ontem e acredito que hoje vai ter mais vitória do que o jogo de ontem.
So, yeah, they're very confident for the game today because they'll be playing hard for the Last Chance, and they will try to do the same game as yesterday, but with more wins for today.
Wow, there are more wins for today. That is definitely something that we look forward to. And of course, of all the 3 maps that we'll be playing for the day itself, which one is your team most confident and comfortable with? And what problems do you face on the other 2 maps? Or are you just really good at all the maps, would you say?
Então, tipo dos 3 mapas, qual é o melhor mapa para o vosso time e qual é o problema que vocês enfrentam nos 2 mapas? Ou se vocês vão de bem em todos os mapas?
Acredito que o nosso melhor mapa é Arangel e os nossos 2 piores são São Roque e Miramar. São Roque devido ao nosso spot, que é no centro do mapa e muitos times caem ao redor, pode travar a gente. E Miramar devido à nossa rotação atrasada, que os spots são bem no norte do mapa.
So for them, Arangel is the best map for them, but San Roque, and they have a problem because they land in the middle, and then all the other teams are around them, so it's very hard to fight all of them. And for the last map, they always go for the north, so sometimes they lose some time doing the translation, so they will lose time to get to the center.
Great, amazing analytics on what they feel as a team right here. And of course, how are your teams plan to stay in position 5? Of course, we know that the top 5 will move forward to the main event of PMGC. So are you guys going to be playing more aggressive? Are you guys going to play safe? Tell us, what is your plan for today?
Então, qual é o plano para o jogo de hoje? Vão jogar mais agressivos para continuar no top 10 ou vão fazer um jogo mais retardado?
No jogo de hoje a gente vai jogar no mesmo estilo de jogo, para garantir o top 1, a gente quer o top 5, mas a gente quer o top 1, ficar em primeiro lugar, vai ser muito gratificante para a gente. Então a gente não vai evitar de trocar tiro, se a gente tiver que matar, a gente vai matar. E espero vocês aí na busca desse top 1.
So for them, of course, they'll play the same game, but even for him, it's they'll be more aggressive today. Because of course, they want to be in top 5, but they want to finish today as the top 1 team.
Wow, they're not stopping at number 2. That sounds very, very positive coming from Team A7. Now, last question right here. Now, if the teams are hearing this, anything you want to say to all the other 15 teams competing here at the Last Chance qualifiers for PMGC?
Então, como última pergunta, ele quer dizer, qual é a mensagem que você quer enviar para os 15 outros times que estão aqui jogando o PMGC?
A mensagem que eu queria enviar é que para eles tomar cuidado com a gente está muito confiante. A gente vem treinando bastante, estudado bastante eles e hoje a gente vai mostrar o poder da nossa bala.
So the message for all the teams is for all them to be careful because they'll be studying all the different 15 teams here, and for them to be very careful because if they see them, they'll be shooting at them.
Wow. Be careful, ladies and gentlemen. A7 is coming for you. Thank you so much, Mafioso, for that amazing interview. Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to kickstart match number 1 in a few short moments. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this with, of course, with the host and analyst. And we'll see you guys in a bit. Take care, guys.
Bye.
It is the final day of action here at the PUBG Mobile Global Championship 2022 last chance stage. At the end of our next 6 matches, only 5 teams will be joining the rest who have already qualified through into the biggest event of the year, kicking off in January. And it's going to be a lot of money on the line, a lot of pride on the line, and of course the title of being the #1 team in the world. I'm your host, Jason Kaplan, and we have the cutie boys next to me of Maxman and Sandstorm to break everything down that's been happening yesterday, which was an extremely exciting day. And of course, it's coming up today. Cutie #1, that's you, Maxman. How's things going to be going for you?
I thought you were going to be mean to us today, but no, I'm feeling fantastic, Jason. I'm feeling amazing. And, you know, good day yesterday. I would also have to say unexpected day yesterday, because the teams that are at the top, I did not expect to be at the top. Like, all the favorites, a lot of the favorites are still in the middle, some are even at the bottom. So, I mean, who knows who's going to be the top 5? I have no clue. It's going to be up in the air.
It really is. It really is going to be up in the air, and especially with the, I don't know, I guess there's a lot of pressure on the last teams currently representing their regions going into the tournament as well. So looking towards Enigma Galaxy, the last Arabian, the Titan as well, the last African representative, Damwon Kia, the last Korean representative or South Korean representative. So a lot of pressure on these teams and only 6 chances to prove themselves now.
Yeah, 6 chances, and that's pretty much happening with what are it's a culmination of what happened yesterday in the positions they set themselves in. But you know what? You at home, they need your support. The fan vote is going to be ending today in just a few hours of time, so make sure you're watching within the Esports Center and use those tokens to vote for your favorite teams. I believe S2G was still #1 last time I checked. We might have a change happening over the course of today. Maybe DRS Max can get on the board.
I think there's a chance for them. I put my vote in. No, I'm not going to lie, I put it in for Game Lord, because you know what? Could have given a little bit of hope to my home team eventually, right? But yeah, it was
oh, now they're your home team. When they're doing all right,
hey, I always hope, okay, but my expectations were a little bit all over the place, okay? But I am Team Narvalo today.
Well, you know where my fan vote went, Maxman?
Who? Tell me.
I went over to Sony Xperia, because the Sony Xperia 1.4 Xperia stream is made in collaboration with professional esports players, and you can play PUBG Mobile in 90 Hz with Xperia Stream's total cooling system and multiple ports for intensive gaming and streaming. That's where my vote goes. Sandstorm, where did your vote go?
My vote went for Maxman because he's an amazing analyst and he's dressed very nice today. I'm here to counteract some of Jason today.
Yeah, a really cool transition.
John, can we get one of them in here for Sandstorm? Also, a big shout out here to Pullman Kuala Lumpur Bangstar Hotel, where our world is your playground, while the players are getting to stay at and getting to chill and relax at. And by chill and relax, I mean none of that, because they're sitting there intensely reviewing all the VODs from yesterday and trying to prepare for what's on the line today. And one way they can do that by preparing is with Prime Gaming. You can get some exclusive in-game free PUBG Mobile items, some premium content, of course, the other benefits with Prime Gaming as well. But as we move forward here, Max, I'm a little bit worried for some of these teams, to be perfectly honest. I know they say this quite a lot, but for me is the fact they don't have any of the Maserati skins just yet, which is going to be available until the 31st of December here, which you can get while playing in-game. I don't know. I mean, that's pretty sweet car. It looks pretty damn good. And you know what? If anything, it's almost guaranteed to make you top 5 here.
I was told officially that if you do have the Maserati skin in-game, you'll get official extra style points, okay, added to the mix.
Ooh.
So I want to see if you can get some extra style points on board. But
and as we know, style points is the tiebreaker between teams after chicken dinners, placement points, eliminations, how big your roster is, who's the tallest team, who can eat the most pierogies, stuff like that. But you guys at home should be following us over on social media with all the official PUBG Mobile esports channels. But here we go. These are the teams that have been participating. If you missed out on yesterday, well, you missed out, honestly, on a crazy day of action with a lot of unexpected twists and turns. But here, we can see a couple of teams. I mean, this is maybe the highest we'll see some of the teams. Like LGD, for instance, in the 2nd place here. Not looking too hot when it comes to the overall leaderboards.
It's super interesting, really. I think that Sandstorm, as I already said earlier, I think that this first day came very unexpectedly for a lot of the teams that are currently at the top. Like, we'll look at the leaderboards later on, but DRS have been able to absolutely dominate in yesterday's matches and are just looking hyper aggressive, and it's been paying off so well. And well, Navalo, he's just a team on his own. Sure. He just keeps on surviving. It's insane.
He really does, yeah. I mean, look, in the first game yesterday, he managed to get 6th with 3 eliminations for his team. And again, he managed to repeat the performance in game 4, managing to secure 3rd with 13 eliminations. He had, I think, 4 or 5 for himself in that one game. So consistently, we're seeing him being the last person alive for his team. And the fact that he's securing 10 points, I'm pretty sure that there's more that he's going to be able to get today. But a very good performance and a very good start for them on day 1.
Well, we have to clarify as well, those are points they've gotten as the only player remaining for their team. So pretty much Navarlo got a fifth of their points in total by himself alone, which is obviously insane by itself. But as we look forward into our top 4 smoke users, kind of makes sense. I mean, Maxman, we've seen like walls of smokes, we've seen them utilized in so many different ways. Yesterday in particular, I feel like we could even see the map at some points because of the amount of smokes we had down. But IHC, 96 is ridiculous.
I think that what IHC have done really well throughout all of this tournament so far is that they're really good at using smokes to wall off fights. Like, for example, if the team's on 2 of their sides, they're going to just smoke off one of their sides, make sure that one team cannot spray them down anymore, and then they're just going to put 100% focus on the team that's on the other side where the smoke are not going to hide their vision. And I think that's what they did extremely well on this first game, where they were pushing, I think it was on bacon time, and also negating visibility bomb Alpha 7 on the side. It just enabled them to make in a second place, but then the DBS, off squash happens, and I don't know what you're supposed to do against that, but not much.
Well, I mean, it's obvious,
apparently.
right, Sandstorm? The only way to beat a DBS is to use a DBS.
Exactly. If you can't beat them, join them. And that's what the server has been doing so far. After seeing so many fights being decided by that DBS, like we've seen yesterday in the first game, Inko versus LGD, just outside of match, and LGD didn't know what hit him at that point. And I think just every single team started to pick it up bit by bit. And I love seeing those close quarter fights with the DBS. You think you have an Uzi? You think you're going to win? No, just get one pump and that's it. You're done. You're dead. So let's see if we're going to be seeing the same impact from that again on today's games, or our team's going to be bringing something special.
It's insane how the DBS... Okay, this was a weird one. I would love to know what was the shot call of that player. Like, let's just send us a 3-cart in a compound with no smokes and just get sprayed down by Mao Mao from LGD. That was... Hopefully we're not going to see that again, but it was also pretty damn funny, and Titan, of course, did not lose that game. But the thing is, the DBS is also being used at mid to almost long range from time to time. Like, it is go really far, so even at mid range, you're not safe.
Yeah, there you go.
There, right there. Perfect example.
I mean, you mentioned Titan, Maxman. Really interesting to see as well. Like, if they end up qualifying somehow, because they're currently, as you can see, in 5th place, that 6th match of yesterday, I think, is going to be the real page turner, the one that everyone's going to look back on, because Axer, unfortunately, couldn't play that last match. It was 3-person team for Titan, and they ended up winning things and catapulting themselves into 5th place. That in itself is a great story, and hopefully Axer today is going to be able to help continue to build that momentum with this team. But DRS, Alpha 7, IHC, Inko, and Titan, all are top 5 at the moment. But Maxman, Bigatron, 6th place. It's possible. It's still there.
The hope is there. The hope is that, like, literally, if BTR qualify, I'm going to lose it. I will be so hyped to see them in the Grand Finals LAN event in Jakarta. It doesn't get any better than that. It will be the best PMGC and the best PMGC Grand Finals, Jason. It's peak fiction.
Sandstorm, Maxman did say off-air yesterday when we were done with the show that if BTR qualify for Jakarta,
not my eyebrows.
He is shaving his eyebrows.
Ah, okay.
Oh, wow. You know what? Now I really want to qualify and go like straight up into 1st place. Looking right now at DRS and Inko, these two teams, I'm just going to brush right past that. DRS and Inko have been absolutely sensational. DRS for sure. Yesterday, by the way, was the best performance that we have seen from DRS in the PMGC. 81 total points, 32 eliminations. Not once have they been eliminated in the bottom parts of the leaderboard. Every single time they've been in the top 7, with 4 of those games in the top 4. They're doing exceptionally well, and not what I expected compared to the performance that we've seen before. So definitely going to be on the lookout for them in these games.
Yeah, and I think, Max, like, if we look at DRS, I mean, obviously we see them around for multiple years in a row. I didn't really have them this high on my radar, or this high on my rankings when I look at the rest of the teams they're competing against. But I am pleasantly surprised, but I do worry going into today. Can they replicate that performance? Yes, they built up a 30-point lead between 1st and 5th place, but I'm not sure if they can do this back-to-back 2 days in a row.
I would have to agree. If you're looking back at DRS and how they played in the group stage, I think that DRS is like, no, middle of the pack. I didn't expect them to qualify in top 5. But this new DRS 2.0, is playing hyper passive, but the moment that they flip that switch, they just go in super aggressive mode, start clearing zone after zone after zone, and taking as much space in the circle as they possibly can. It is a team that can now convert chicken dinners. I mean, we saw it yesterday in that, what was that, game number 4, 10 eliminations and a chicken dinner, followed up with a 4th place, a 3rd place on game 2. They got a 2nd place. They just keep getting these top 5 finishes. And when you have such a short tournament, only 2 days of play, that might just be enough to remain in that top 5.
Well, let's actually take a look at your teams to watch. Maybe either one of you do have DRS actually in there. Oh, okay. Well, Maxman, I'm glad I threw it to you to talk to about him. I didn't even know you had him as a team to watch, so we know exactly why you're going with them. Game Lord, I'm kind of guessing because you're French.
Exactly.
French. And then Bigatron because you don't want to lose your eyebrows.
Also, then, do I have to speak for the segment? I don't think so. Sandstorm, why?
Several reasons. Besiktas, they managed to get themselves a chicken dinner yesterday, but 4 of their 6 games were in the bottom 4. So that chicken dinner did give you a chance to keep fighting and stay alive in this tournament. But other than that, it's going to be very difficult for them for the rest of the games. HVVP, we've seen them come back again. Chicken dinner, huge improvement on their performance. But which HVVP are we going to be seeing? The one that drops north side of George, gets a decent amount of points, like we've seen in days 1, 2, and 3 of the group stage, or are we going to be seeing the one where they drop on the west side of Melee Base and just completely get no points whatsoever? And Inco, need I say more? I don't know what to say about these guys. I said they weren't going to get into top 5. They already are. I believe they're going to make it, and I'm just going to leave it there.
To talk
well,
on
Maxman,
let's go for it.
Sandstorm did say that if Inco do qualify in top 5, he's going to shave his eyebrows. So
I like this. This is good. I like this change of pace. We'll do that. 100%.
I was complimenting you like 2 minutes ago. You should be on my side, Max. What happened?
There is no sides here on the desk. It's everyone for themselves.
No.
Maxman, what were you going to say about HVVP?
So I want to touch on HVVP because I was able to look back through the VODs a little bit yesterday and through the map feed, and I really think that the main issue I pointed out yesterday is really coming into be the main issue for them, which is they are just a little bit too slow on the rotations. Like a lot of the teams that play Edge are just so quick. They really are. They see the circle, boom, everyone almost instantly in their cars, playing Edge circle. HVVP, especially if they go for secondary drops, they're just a little bit slower to get in the flow of things, and they just get gate kept so often. I think they had 3-4 games in a row yesterday where they just get gate kept, and they just could not get in any strong position. I think if they just speed things up a little bit, they'll be there, because technically the entry points are good, just a bit slow. So if they speed things up, I think we can see the new HVVP we wanted to see here.
Okay. Well, you know what? I mean, hopefully they've been able to realize that as well and have been able to figure some things out to improve here in that second day. It wouldn't be a PMGC in my eyes without HVVP there. There's also a couple of other teams. I mean, Sandstorm, we've got Vampire Esports in 15th place. Didn't expect that to happen considering what we've seen from them in the past. Enigma Galaxy in 13th place, Besiktas in 12th place, LGD in 11th, and even Reject Damwon 10th and 9th respectively. There's a lot of these big name teams and big players that we've seen just over the course of this event alone that just haven't been able to perform in that first day.
I mean, sometimes it can come down to there's a lot of pressure on the teams. It can come down to not having the international experience in these tournaments, and it can also come down to the fact that we have the best teams in the world, and there's bound to be some teams that are not going to be able to perform on that level. But sometimes we do get surprised with, for example, like you mentioned, LGD. They had a strong start in the group red, and then not being able to make it into the grand final, struggled a little bit, but they performed very well in the survival stage, which is kind of what baffles me a little bit. Is this the group green effect? Whenever they're teams from group green are there, LGD just can't do anything?
Well, I'm not going to answer that question, but you know what? Maybe our casters can answer that question, or just let the gameplay alone answer it, because we're going to be heading over to our commentators to kick off our first match here of the day, our one of 6 remaining matches here in our last chance stage. So John, Allen, and Blink, take it away.
We are over the midway hump and we are going downhill, and we will not be stopping. There are no brakes on this train, Blank. We're inexorably drawing to a close here in the last chance stages, and all of these teams, they're trying to hang on for dear life.
They are 100%. I mean, there's not many places you can hang on. Some of these teams are on the outside of the train as well, so it's getting real windy out there, and there's a tunnel coming up, so they got to duck their heads, make sure that they can make their way through these last 6 matches. There is some teams that I worry about massively. I'm looking at down towards the bottom of the leaderboard. Vampire Esports, 25 points, Bacon Time. The 2 Thai teams joining one another arm in arm in the bottom of the leaderboard itself. I do think that a comeback can still be made, but it will be very difficult to make happen. LGD, on the other hand, known for that type of bounce-back nature. They're very elastic, very trampoline-like. We'll see if they can hit those numbers today and get themselves up towards that top 5, because yesterday there were some things that just weren't working out for them. But heading over to Orangle, our first match of the day, and it will be all concluding in 5 more matches after this.
Oh, it is all to play for. The same set With AXA back in for the Titans as well, they'll be playing at 4 players strong, which is good news coming off of their chicken dinner yesterday, which saw them up and into 5th place at the end of the day, just about pipping out Bigitron on a tiebreaker, with, of course, that chicken dinner being the deciding factor. So it is still very, very close towards the top of those tables. And very, very hotly contested by quite a lot of teams. As you were saying before, Vampire Esports and Baker Time, they will need that step up. But we've seen them seen it from them before that they can have that sort of gumption, and they have had those pop-off days.
Looking at this playing path, it's very awkward, honestly. Down towards this south side doesn't give a lot of people the opportunity to get up towards the northern edge of the map. VPE is going to drop out towards Primorsk. It's going to be difficult for HVVP to get up towards North George. They're going to go to their secondary drop down towards Sosnovka. Now, yesterday, we saw they had a much bigger improvement when they were able to get into those circles early on. This might not afford them that same kind of chance, but a lot of times when they're playing on the northwestern edge anyway, it is a long haul down towards the eastern side of the map where we've seen a lot of these circles drop. A western circle could work out for them here. Similarly for VPE, we're improving their gameplay from the center side, especially on that Miramar where they took a very central position. But this circle basically favors absolutely everybody. Anyone can get towards this spot nice and easily. It does keep the majority of this bottom part of the map in, which does make things a little bit harder for anyone towards that Sosnovka military base in the first place. Getting across those bridges is going to be a little bit more difficult, considering there's going to be complications in terms of gatekeeping going on.
Will be pretty tricky, those vehicles, hotly contested, I imagine. Vampire split and uncontested, actually, over towards Primorsk. No one dropping out at that stage of the playing path that early on. They will not have any contest for that spot on the tables. Of course, if you want to be getting on board with Captain Messi, he is joining the PUBG Mobile Battlefield. Stand out on the battleground with the Messi football icon set. Grab them in PUBG Mobile now.
100% worth it as well. Looks very cool. Flav is 100% rocking it over on the interviews. He looks very, very cool as well. I'm jealous. I'm 100%. I wish I was wearing that today. It would give me the comfort, the ability to take this all the way to the end. In the meantime, Besiktas going against Inco at the moment. Squash will try and run down when the players are successful with it. Looks for one more. Enjoy quite low. Let's get away. Squash able to take down Peace. Almost going for another here. And with this vehicle, he has a really good chance to actually take down the whole team.
Like Zessi does manage to pop the reload there. I knew that these vehicles were going to be contested. I didn't realize it would be full squads contesting for a couple of these vehicles. Looks like that backup did come through. Inco lose one. I think Besiktas also losing one. They will be able to res there as well. So both of these teams fully disengaging from this area and figuring out where they're going to want to go further forwards, because they both now have 3 players alive. Inco, 4th place on the tables. 12th place is Besiktas.
Yeah, Inco's still at risk at the moment, considering their recent performances, which is a case of 2 games has made up the majority of these 54 points. That is slightly worrying, but something that does not worry me whatsoever and makes me very happy, in fact, is that tomorrow, December 5th, we will be seeing 2022 PMGC special crates releasing all the way through to January 8th, so make sure you get your hands on those whilst you still can. But it is all back on this one right now, this match, this day in particular, where we'll be finding out exactly which top 5 teams will be heading through to the grand finals. Honestly, it is getting a little bit scary as we're seeing we have much more info to go off from yesterday. And again, like I was saying with Inco, 2 matches make up the vast share of those 54 points they have. Now, they could take a similar approach today where, they get 2 games and they're very happy. They see themselves secure towards that top 5. However, this is now the adaptation day. This is where teams have figured out what's going on, what works, and they will have looked at yesterday. They will have looked at Inco's rotational paths, where they're finding these easy positions to get in towards the circle, where they're sending central as well, and maybe even looking to cut those rotations off or even pick them up for their own. And Inco, although very good in the macro, decently good towards that end game and picking up a lot of eliminations, usually they do it where they are the 4-man squad. They're essentially taking down 3-man squads, 2-man squads, and it's a lot easier for them to actually hit those kind of numbers that way. This time around, I think Inco will find it a little bit harder to get those easy positions towards center, and already losing 1 player sets them back at that disadvantage.
HVVP on that south side, they did drop out to their backup drop over on the military island, all the way on the south coast. Kitsune looting up on the docks down south. Potential for them to I guess, like boat rotate, but it's more likely that they're going to just take that bridge on the western edge. Down one, central in apartments is a pretty powerful spot given the circle as it is. A lot of space on the northern side of the river hasn't been taken though, Blank.
Yeah, I think with the plane path as well, that's kind of a likely thing to have happened here, which is where Severny shooting range all very free. HVP may have made a different call if they'd known that the circle was going to head this far towards that northern side. They might have even taken all the vehicles that they could, considering this lobby is very eastern centric. A lot of the western side isn't taken up by teams, so they could have easily picked up some vehicles towards that western coast, headed up past LGD towards North George, then had a good game of it. Either way, I think this is the numbers play. This is the one you go for. It's the most consistent. You're not relying on the circles a lot of times. It still gives you a lot of loot. You can get looted early as well. You don't want to be in North George towards that 4-minute mark with absolutely no gear on you whatsoever, and then forced to make a very hectic rotation come zone 2. So I think this is the smart move from them. Similarly, I-8 down towards Sosnovka, they can move out. There is IHC in this area though, so there's a lot of teams all trying to get their way through outside of Sosnovka. So both these teams will have to be a little bit careful.
Bacon time at the bottom of the tables right now. Get central fairly early. Currently playing, well, I'd say central. They're sort of on the outside of the center pack right now, but it's a pretty solid compound as well. Nice sight lines out nearby to them. They'll have a lot of rotational opportunity ahead of them, but with how tightly packed the center is, it might be curtailed that little bit. Misery spots Game Lord rotating past. Spots them rolling on into the compound as well. Spots them crashing in. Spots the hop out as well. Spray is not going to be good for the first knock and actually traded off. Narvalo able to get that flush down. And Misery out for Bigatron. Really needed to find that first knock on the roll-up. And it was curtains from there.
Misery's usually very good at that, which is catching players off guard, but I think that he was a little bit all over the place there, panicking slightly. Maybe holding a singular angle could be good, but I think he was attempting to keep himself hidden from these players as they came in, but there were so many sight lines into that building that it is difficult unless you are prone, in which case you have no real vision other than in being able to hear the sounds of the vehicles rolling up to make that surprise play, and then relying on the rest of the team to try and take some shots outwards. So for BTR, they attempt to go for the sneaky assassin maneuver, however, it does not work out in their favor. HVP now finally making their move out. This is towards that northern side, heading over the western bridge at the moment. DRS left this position earlier on, so they will have to move through them at some point, but the Pachinki's in the way, so there's a lot of spots to be hidden in.
The western bridge, uncontested. And Vampire, as you said, out of the way. Moving forwards on that western side, Alpha 7 swinging up north. It's a little bit quieter now, but I imagine just on the southwest side of those Yasnaya fields could be a little bit hotter. I mean, we saw obviously the roll-up from Game Lord over on that side, close to Bigatron down on 3.
Bigatron obviously losing a couple of players, not ideal, but again, this is why most teams will shift really central early on. I think it's acceptable to play very center on that first zone shift just because you're expecting a circle like this to occur. And then people can start to play edge from here on out. But getting a central spot early gives you a very high chance of getting in towards that area. Game Lord deciding to move a little bit further in, clear out maybe one of these teams. And BTR have to be quick with it now. Obviously getting shunting out of that top 5 placement. 51 points tiebreaker on the chicken dinner. Going down here at the start of the day would not be good for them. So when Nate goes through the window, it's absolutely perfect. Liquid will be going down first.
Oh, another one in through the window. 2 nades, 2 knocks. It's Jen Foster, a third nade through. They will be able to find an answer a little bit. Has the M249, a lot of bullets, but not going to be able to find the second knock onto Victor. Narvalo does fall, but Bigatron swept aside. Game Lord, their bane right now. Very central in the circle as well, and a powerful garage to be able to claim for Game Lord moving into those top 5.
Exactly, John. That pushes them up past Titans nicely with 53 points, just behind Inco at the moment by 2 points overall. That's a 4th place finish. So Game Lord doing a very good job so far. Yes, a lot of these points have been kind of almost saved by Narvalo, able to get a few eliminations here and there on board, which does pump up that totals a little bit. We saw that he got 10 points yesterday. Either way, if you look at that, A 10-point margin underneath them at the start of the day would have sat them in 39 points, would have been in 11th place, with 10th place at the moment. So you're a bit worried about that type of thing. I think that for game mode, they're happy that Nalvala was able to get as far as he did, but these 4 eliminations and a good first take on the circle gives them a lot more loot in terms of being able to grab the supplies that BTR dropped off the loot crates, and then also have this position to play around with. Bacon Time are starting to roll up on that top side. No real compound for them though, so Game Lords still have this really strong compound towards the center of the circle with high ground to play around with. There's walls around here too, which makes the crash a little bit more uncomfortable. I think maybe BTR just had to be a little bit quicker with those nades, and for Game Lord getting up like that with barely any smokes and then just nading through the window, that shouldn't really happen as often as it did. And I think they were feeling maybe a little bit afraid after Misery did go down how quickly as he did.
HVVP now have swung all the way up to that northern side. They were playing on the north edge of the river. LGD were in this position, but the rotation paths from here, they'll be much more familiar with Blank. Obviously, normally going in from North George, so potentially a little bit stronger. IHC, south side, and going to be corralling on at that edge. They are south of the Yasnaya Fields, close by to Titan, who have moved a little bit off of Potato Hill now as the circle comes to a crunch. Aegon XI8 pushing in from that south side will be behind Titan and DRS to their side. That is a nasty shift, Blank. It's hard north, but it keeps a lot of both sides of the river in, and they're going to be difficult choices to be made in the future.
I think for A7, this is really, really nice for them. I think the fact that they were all the way on this northeastern side, they were looking like they weren't going to be able to find a way in towards this circle. Setting us up a little bit further towards Rozhok, and then even goes further north on that side, gives Alpha 7 an excellent opportunity to pump those scores up and really secure their position towards that top 5 and head through towards the PMGC. It's been very rare that we've not seen Alpha 7 go through to PMGC, but already, I think that's 2 knocks either side, but with Reject in the back as well, this could be horrendous stuff.
Oh, a second knock for Mythic over onto Meku, and 2 players are down. It's all on Tixie to hold the front here. Rejector coming through, as you say, a third party. Matic and Tixie now for the squad. Carrillo on the corner will find the nades in his way. Tixie gets one back as well, and a lovely little shot through the window. Needs to hold for a second, but a third player from HVVP falls down. It's Matic rolling up, the seat swap's there, and they're out. Both Alpha 7 and HVVP try and crash the same compound, Blank. And it goes to hell for HVVP. Reject move in and look for the third party as well.
It's just that speed that is on the side of A7. They were further towards that northeast. They could get inside that compound early. Both teams had the same idea, and you can't fault them for it. It's a really strong compound over towards that Yaz Bridge crossing. So if this headed further towards that western side, this would be providing anyone that picks it up now a huge opportunity to gatekeep a lot of teams. Inco heads towards the bridge with 3 players. They're going to hold down there for the time being. Reject hope to get in on that fight. Either way, for HVP, it's just a little bit too slow, and I think that when you're trying to crash a compound like that, you have to be really, really quick, very dominant. For Alpha 7, it was less of a problem for them because it's a very long rotate for some of these teams to head over Yasnaya, past the lake, round the side, and they have a huge amount of sightlines to see that one happening. For HVP, they have to be a little bit more aware, which is why they leave Kitsune in the back. Either way, good job to Alpha 7. Very, very good team fight coming through from them to pick up the compound and get those angles over towards the guys from HVP as they crashed. Now, they can start to really get some more points and get a cracking game on board with 78 points already accrued. They might look to overtake DRS on this game.
I don't know if it's possible, but I would love to see a replay of the start of that fight, because there were 2 knocks that we didn't see, and the timing was very, very close to both of those teams hitting the compound. Alpha 7 did get there first, just a little bit, but I would love to have seen right at the start when those knocks started to come through. Titan on the north side of the lake now might try and move into the area, and Alpha 7 trying to fend them off on the north edge.
Like we said before, this is a very difficult cross down towards Alpha 7's position. A lot of open ground here over towards this pizza wedge, essentially over towards that western side. Another difficult circle comes through. LGD is in an alright spot at the moment, but you really do wonder where this circle is going to end up, because if it ends up right on top of the bridge, it's going to be difficult for a lot of these teams to find anything to work with. Inco down towards inside the bridge. They're on the bank side. This is hugely central. This is classic Inco gameplay.
LGD really powerful in their position. North, sure, very likely that it will be finishing there, but LGD can just sit here and control everybody else trying to make their way across, as can Inco. Unfortunately, though, Alpha 7 move on out. Nades over the top, Vitali low, Becker at the back. Will be able to stay alive here. Another nade on in to try and pick up the flush. Rezis very, very tricky there. Down one, trying to get across the bridge, shut down. They got XI8, 4 players alive. Currently split 2 and 2. The other 2 players on the east side of Rozhok. As Down one sit above them. Vampire, you can see them just about coming over that hill on the western edge. North shore for Vampire already. They're in one of those towers, but they're going to have to move further in. They know Aegon XI8 are here, and they should know that DRS are rolling up on their north side.
It's a hard cross here. I think Schweppes is playing this one very, very well, knowing that there's probably those off angles from Aegon XI8. UZM goes down, there's from Enigma Galaxy. There's a lot of eyes on this position. Ghost is the only one left remaining over towards Rozhok's side, but should be shortly returning to the fold. Game Lord rocked up. They did take a knock in the process, but were able to get their boy back up on his feet for the time being. That's Akashi over that side. Nade goes through, does a hefty damage over towards Narvalo.
Stays alive, however. In come Robs, Victor, and Akashi to back Narvalo up on the hillside. They know there's more players here. They know they have to push further north. East side flank, IHC covering off. Smokes being thrown down for Game Lord to isolate sightlines to create a channel towards the Enigma Galaxy fight. Looking to put nades in that way. Amodi launching them back on over. No one going down just yet. The rest of Down one trying to get across. Not going to be shot at just yet, but everybody's turning their attention that way now, as Vampire have to be on the swivel, actually managing to get all the way across. Down one Gaming will stay alive for now. Reiji shots over towards Alpha 7. And Aegon XI8, they're still peppering away at Enigma Galaxy, despite being right on the south cut of the circle.
It's been a survival game here for Aegon. They know they have some good sight lines up towards a lot of this tree line, so they can just take easy shots and get themselves back into cover. For Freak, though, these are shots you need to hit over towards him, but I think Blade just does not want to expose himself for too long. Currently in 26 points, 28 after those 2 elims. Quite far down towards the bottom of the lobby, looking to put some more points on the board today.
Ooh, a nice little roll-up coming through from Game Lord. Freak now last standing for Enigma Galaxy, but Narvalo gets shot down as well. Victor and Robs active. They want to try and create some cover, but their teammates are getting shot out in the meantime. They're not in the next circle, and IHC have moved in front of them. With the chaos that they were involved in with Enigma Galaxy. Godless on the side swipe on the off angle, and their teammates will fall. 2 players now left standing for Game Lord on the south side, and a tricky rotation ahead of them. Likely they're going to have to move north of the river, and IHC have got the shots. They split 1-on-1 in the vehicles. The reload's there, and the back player actually going to be able to get to the coastline. Unlikely to get across, but still somehow squeaking it through. Forward position will be taken away from them, however, and it's just Victor left.
Inside the water himself. Chunksy did go down to a shot coming through from Besiktas all the way on that eastern side. They'll have to move further in. Inco, once again, find themselves a very troublesome spot, but a spot that they have lived in. The nades from Revo didn't quite do the final job towards them, able to live for a little bit longer, get away, and can remain on this bankside. And although it was very rough to play from him earlier, now everyone realizes this is a hot spot.
Ravenclaw down, Fluke down, traded off for just the one. They turn around the corners though, and they got the DBSs at close range. I think there were several going off there. There's at least 2 on the roster. Vampire keeping the shotguns in hand.
See themselves a little bit safe, but the circle's still enclosing. We'll have to move out from this position, trying to get as many reses through as possible before they start to make that grand dash. Becker just taking shots. Inco already up to 3 eliminations so far from the waters below. The Sharks looking for a little bit more to chew.
Vehicle goes up, so can't sit in that anymore. Nade over the top from Squash as he launches up. Off the bank side. Down one. Really struggling here. Inco doing a stellar job. 3 eliminations so far. Forest should be spotted. DRS in the meantime, southwest side. Vampire at their back, looking to move up. Schwepp does fall. It's rejected there. On the off angle, should be resable here for Vampire. 4 eliminations already on the game. Reject. Hit the deck from Delta. Neither player going down. That's going to draw some ammo, draw some sightlines away from Vampire. on their approach on the southwest side, but the blue zone moving in. Shots from Ravenclaw as they crest the ridge. The backline not safe. Rules repositioning. Ravenclaw cannot risk this peak. Go for the spray that he wants to find, but the nade over the top could be on the money. It's the only one he's got in the pocket. Looks like it's on target, maybe a little bit short there. Will fall just in front of the rock that Delta hides behind. Schwepp swings out wide. Yanti shots over to Reject. They are caught in a trap right now, and DRS need to stay strong.
They have to push for a lot of teams at the moment. I mean, VP is not making this easy, and they're remaining outside of sightlines from the guys of Reject. So for DRS, they just have to push for this team in front. Enigma Galaxy do go down. Besiktas still going pretty strong on that eastern side. DRS slowly being pulled apart here by the nades. Reject, Divine sending stuff over. Killer now steps up, takes down Schweppes, leaving VPE at 3 for the time being, but 6 eliminations already found, looking for a bigger game. Inco currently dominating from the bank side.
Killer last standing now for DRS. They would know pretty much where that position is going to be, but Killer finds another one. Oh, he's drifted over. He didn't get it. Okay, fair enough. I didn't realize the rear axle was only a 90% HP hit, but either way, Vampire take the knock back over to Stone. I think he got the smoke out, has that cover to play around, but Godless threads the needle nonetheless, and IHC pick up the elimination. Vampire, they had a good fight there, but it just came crashing down right at the end with that cheeky little knock from Killer. The double knock, in fact, as well, on the rollout. Stayed hidden for quite a while. Now Vampire down at 1 active, pretty split. Next circle finally takes us to the North Shore fully.
Maybe A7 can start to capitalize off the back of this. Titans also currently a 4-man squad. Did take down one of the players coming through from Alpha 7 who was trying to control the river itself in Revo. Very slowly but surely made their way into position. I like that play from Titans. Took it carefully in the meantime. Baker time in the water. Incoach still dominating from this side. It was one of those pushes where it's like, this might not work out for us for the first 10 minutes, but trust me, lads, we will get some points from this position if we just maintain our lives. At some point, this is going to become hugely contested, and people would just be sending themselves in 3 points for us in the vehicles.
Ravenclaw looks to join the players near the rivers. Hasn't committed to it just yet, actually, just finding a spot right near the edge of the circle right now. So for Vampire, they have 8 eliminations, so placement points that they can rack up now as there's a lot of ragtag teams in the river. If they could just stay alive and not get caught up in it, they can ladder up easily 6 to 7 team places here.
Teague taking shots. This guy really performed very well through the group stage. A little bit of a slower performance going through on the survival stage, but has made it in. Still had some really big moments. Seems like he's still being that front man for the squad. Though 6 has really caught my eye recently as this backstop member. He's able to get some very interesting little angles, some peaks that's coming through. He opened up the fight here over towards Alpha 7, allowing them to get into a position on the circle. And Titans haven't pushed their luck, actually. They didn't go for the full-on crash over towards Alpha 7. They just found a compound they can play from. Decided this is better for them to just stay up as 4 rather than risking the full-on fight, knowing that with this circle, with the bank in play, although it's very risky and horribly dangerous, this type of terrain, they're more than likely going to live for a long while just sticking as 4 as opposed to going for a full-on brawl.
Victor trying to survive for as long as possible. Osal in the buggy will be able to bandage up, get a little bit of healing done. Staying alive for now. That south side, you can see just all of the teams who went to the river as a last chance. LGD finally having to leave their stronghold. Besiktas ready and waiting to receive. They won't find a knock just yet. 2 players active, YZ and Suki. Suki already on the high ground. Is still in the next circle. And playing around that bridge. Besiktas, though, they know where that is. The nade over the top from Zessi. Finds the high ground knock, and LGD join the teams in the river crawl. Vampire just picking up more and more points here. I mean, Ravenclaw is in such a powerful position.
Yeah, even as a solo from this spot on the side, doesn't have to take many fights coming through from Reject, but what he can do is certainly pick up some good points down towards the river. Might not get a huge amount of placement points here, but any team that he can remove is good news for him.
Still has cover from the rock, but Besiktas will have clean lines of sight to this direction as soon as they step up, but they're more than likely going to commit to just going north of the river on this next circle. They have 30 seconds to play. The question is, what will they do with the position they've been given? Zessi actually looks for a swim across. Ravenclaw steps up for more. Spots the two players there, but just ducking back behind. And yeah, there we go, Besiktas. As soon as he takes those shots, they go down. And it's 10th place for Vampire, which is really unfortunate. Luckily, 9 eliminations on the cards. We'll jump them up a little bit on the tables, but they could have got so much more. There's 9 teams still remaining, and I'm very, very certain that it's going to be much fewer than that. Not very long.
And with a lot of the teams already have a fair few points towards the top of the lobby, feeling very healthy. Over the Game Lord currently, I believe that is now Valor in the water himself. No, it's Victor this time around putting in the shift. Okay, Game Lord's going to live for a little bit longer. They're the solo team apparently, and this is good news for them. 6 eliminations, get maybe further into top in terms of placement points. Inco already, clocking in at 9. They get the majority of the work done towards that first hour of work, and then they just kick their feet up and then rest for the rest of the day until they need to do something else, or at least the manager asks them to go do something. So for them, they're getting their big game in, securing themselves towards the top of the lobby nice and early on, give themselves that buffer. It's a very relaxed little last chance here for Inco, I'll be honest.
This is where Inco can really put the hurt on and sweep up a lot of these points. 8 eliminations already. I imagine they're going to be able to see 3 or 4 more in the next couple of minutes. Shots over towards Alpha 7 as Reiji backs them off the wall. They've been held in this compound for so long. Blank, remember, this is the compound that they fought HVVP for. Both teams wanted to crash it. And the fact that Alpha 7 are alive this deep in a really strong position, it just makes you wonder what HVVP could have done with it as well.
Ooh. This could be a big nade, bro.
That could be really big, actually. From YZ, it finds Inco. Becca, maybe being dismounted there, is going to look for the res onto Vitali, but another nade to follow. The Cook looks a little bit too short there. YZ lets it go a little bit longer. This one, though, could prove to be a little bit more brutal, but the bounce off the rock, it would have been too long anyway. Another nade in hand, though. Lost in the arsenal. Jump out wide, and YZ actually tucks back into cover. Besiktas are there with nades as well. And Vitali goes down again. Becca, low. Besiktas on the other side of the river. But LGD out of nades now. Vitali flushed.
5 elims now for LGD. He's doing a very good job. I think he's realized that, he's not getting a high placement. What he can do is get a lot of elims here. Squash moves out the water. This is a full-on challenge between him and YZZ. See what he can get done here. Reiji, Raciocio goes down. Squash actually knocked as well.
Fortunate. Titan actually taking the shots over towards Reject. Alpha 7, the only team in cover right now. And they have been given this one after their first initial rotation. Away from the river. They'll be able to control all the crossing, and Titan know it. They want this compound. They want to take it back into control. 4 players alive for Titan. The only team at full power, and Mafioso struggling to find an opening knock over to the squad. Finally able to thread that needle, and Puncher falls first. 6 on the sidelines as well. Up and into the fray. There's too many angles for him to deal with those. Carrillo unleashes the Groza. Looks for the flush. Over onto Puncher. And the rest of the duo just staying at the back here for Titan. 2 players now alive. Alpha 7 on 3 as everybody from the river finally getting cut down. Inco eliminated. Down 1, down 4 teams remaining now. Blank.
What a hold there from LGD though. YZZ still going, trying to ruin the chances. Son HP has to drop in towards the water himself. Most likely will get knocked out here. And LGD, with just YZZ himself, owning the bank, taking all the cash from the vault there and putting it in the elimination points bracket. Looks great news for him. 10 eliminations, yeah.
LGD will go down there, but 3rd place, 10 eliminations, a 20-point game for LGD. Unstoppable indeed, but Alpha 7, 3 players. Titan with the 1. Teak, I wonder if they even figure that he could be in here. They've got to imagine he's in the tower, and now he's enveloped by the blue. Wants to bounce a nade off the wall at the last second, but will be denied even that. The point doesn't go to Alpha 7, but they get the chicken dinner nonetheless, and play from a super strong compound. Hard fought for them at the start, but they kept everybody else at bay until to the end. They exerted that control on the Northern Shore.
I really like this though, because it completely ties into their interview to what Revo's been talking about, which is a case of towards the beginning of their games of the last chance, they were struggling a little bit getting towards the center of the circle, playing on that northeastern edge a lot of times. They're an edge team just like HVVP. However, they were mentioning that they want to get a little bit more aggressive with their positioning, get into a spot where they can find it, and not have to just think to themselves, right, we might need to scout this position before we go in, make sure it's fully ensured that we can grab it up. So instead, this time around, it's a case of we have to fight HVP for this spot. We're going to send directly in there, and we will just challenge out any other team for this position because it is the game-winning spot. And HVP and both Alpha 7 understood that it could have gone either way.
And it is so unfortunate that HVVP didn't win that fight, but that's just the way it goes sometime. Alpha 7 with the chicken dinner to take them up and into the first spot.
Well, Alpha 7, they came out with the interview saying, if you come near us, we're going to shoot you down. And HVVP, unfortunately, was one of the recipients of this one as they close out the game and get themselves even further into top 5. And I believe even in first place now, gentlemen. This is a fantastic showing out of Alpha 7 as they look to join Influence Chairman over in the finals.
Normally in the interviews, I'm not going to lie, we hear them say, oh, if we see you, we're going to like chase you down, we're going to take your compound. I don't typically believe it. I do now. Yeah, they just barely saw a pixel moving of HVVP in a really good compound at that. Like, it was a better rotation from HVVP, a lot quicker. But the fact that Alpha 7 just sent it while the team was split was the perfect timing from Alpha 7. And then you just can't breach it because the compound, it's hard to leave, but it's even harder to breach, right, Sandstorm? And that defense was just on point.
Well, Titan found out.
The hard way. Yeah, true.
Yeah, they really did. But what we saw from Mythic in that last game, completely wiping out the HVVP lineup. And I asked this before the game, and I'm going to ask it now. Do you think they might have done better if they dropped, or at least close enough to North George, tried to rotate there? Would have been a quicker rotation to that compound. That might have actually been the difference in them arriving earlier than Alpha 7. Might have been the biggest difference that they needed. And at this point of the game, making that mistake, not getting a single elim either, not securing a single point, is definitely going to hurt HVVP here.
Yeah, it's going to put them even farther behind that top 5 that they're trying to catch up to. But a couple of individual plays we're going to have to mention here as well. YZZ from LGD, the last surviving player from the teams out of water. First of all, I mean, obviously the confidence that goes in to be able to pull off that kind of situation and knowing your limits and knowing what you need to do. But I feel like at the end, to be fair to him, Victor kind of saved him from Gaylord as he knocked 2 players from Besiktas.
Pretty much. Like, the situation is really like out there. It's hard to predict what's going to be happening, but he just picked up the pieces. And I think that the weapon choice for him in that situation was really good. He was playing the PP Bison, which, as we know, has got a lot of ammo in that clip, and you can just keep spraying down as they just come out of the water. You can just keep spraying, keep the pressure on, and it's going to be really hard to make it over to the mainland. So, yeah, good weapon usage, and YZZ. I mean, they had a good game initially, but making it across that river as a 4-man team is just so hard, Jason.
Here you go, the points for Alpha 7, 23. LGD, though, 20 points. I mean, if we talk about those individual points scored, we talked about was Navarro getting himself 10. I think YZZ has just been able to catch up quite a bit here because that gets LGD so close to being in top 5 now.
I wonder how close it is. I'm hyped to look at the overall rankings, but this is a game that's going to put them in good standing. What's not going to put a few of the teams in good standing, of course, we talked about HVVP, but BTR losing that fight almost instantly to the hands of a Gamelord. That's going to put Gamelord in a great position, and it's fantastic for Gamelord too, because before this game, Gamelord went 8th with 49 points. BTR were just barely above them in 6th place, was an extra 2 points with 51. So now BTR falling down, Gamelord going up again.
Well, even Titan Sandstorm going up as well because they got themselves a huge chunk of points as they were already in 15th or in 5th place, I should say, at the time. So we see a lot of movement still happening here, and potentially a lot of movement happening when it comes to our fan vote leaderboard. Remember, I said S2G was first place yesterday, and they're going to be still first place today. However, Enigma Galaxy getting 5th. Maybe the only way that we're going to see Enigma Galaxy get a top 5 today.
How are 4 rivals higher?
I don't know how 4
they
rivals
started
are
off 5th.
higher.
Then they were 4th, I think, yesterday. Now they're 3rd. Like, are they going to...
Are they coming
Okay.
for S2G's spot? Is that the question? I mean, we're running out of days. That's it. Today's the last day. We're done. Just 5 more games left.
I mean, Nigma's there at least, so yeah, you're happy.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, I thought Sandstorm was going to get a little angry at me for what I said there about the only time we're going to see Nigma Galaxy in top 5.
I mean, what am I going to defend here? You give me a reason to defend them. From what I've seen in these games, they don't deserve to get into the top 5. They're just not showing what they're made of. It's not the same performance from last year's BMGC. They were sticking to the heel strat on Sandhawk yesterday as well, so there's not much left to give them at this point.
Well, you know what there is left to give from you guys at home? Your thoughts with the viewer survey that's currently happening over in the YouTube chat. You guys can fill it out and give your feedback on the show, feedback on the talent. Maybe you want me next year to bully Maxman even more. Let us know your thoughts, and you know, I'll make that happen the best I possibly can. Or poor Matt, I'm looking at you, and you're like, no. Let's take a look though at what's really important. Excuse me, today, the overall rankings. Top 5 is what's all about, and we have seen some movement. Alpha 7 sneaking way into first place. We can see Titan Gaming as well has moved up, but Game Lord 2 points behind top 5, and even LGD now just 10 points behind top 5.
That's the thing, right? When you have only 12 matches to perform to be in a top 5 position, every single game you could have a completely different ranking for these teams. Top 5 teams remain the exact same, but just the placements are a little bit different. But I've seen HVP slip down a little bit, and Damwon too, like 2 teams that I thought, yeah, they're going to be top 5, should be pretty easy. Struggling a little bit, and Vampire had a good start, but they got gatekept by Reject really hard this game.
It's still 19-point difference from that 5th place spot all the way towards 12. So even teams like Besiktas have a chance to bring it back. But again, these teams at the very bottom of the leaderboard, they need to start bringing it early on in the day. So they need to bring it in game 8, game 9, of course, in Miramar and Sandhawk. If they're not able to perform in these 2 games, then the last 3 games of the day, we're just going to be focused on the top 5 teams and maybe up to 8th, who is going to be challenging for those top 5 spots.
Okay, well, going into our Miramar here, what about your teams to watch here? Let's start off with you, Sandstorm, since I usually start Maxman. We can see your teams, the Galaxy, Bake It Time, Agon I8. Okay, let's hear it.
Well, with Agon IA, these guys, I mean, they showed us something special on the very last day of survival stage, but we're not seeing any of that in today's games. They were very late on their rotation coming up from the military base, and when we saw them going into Zone 2, I believe Zone 3, 2 or 3 of the players had like 3 bandages and no stims. They were running out of meds, so those late rotations are hurting them a lot. Bacon, one of the top performing teams on Erangel as well. We didn't see them do anything in the last game, didn't see them do anything in day 1. So the reason I'm focusing on these teams, they're at the very bottom and they need to perform and they need to do it now. Otherwise, their journey is done in the PMGC.
All right, well, looking at your picks, Maxman, I can see a certain team in there that you said you would not predict at all today, or at least as a team to watch. LGD, interesting.
It's not my pick. You told me to pick it for you, Jason. I took it for you. I took
Did he do that?
and Vampire.
I didn't hear Jason do that.
I was going to say I've proved we didn't record anything, unfortunately. But yeah, LGD, I mean, they were in a position that was not great before this game. They were in 11th position, and it was said, right, also that they only have a certain amount of games where they can potentially hope to be back in a race. Thanks to the performance of YZZ, they're still in a position where they can compete. They're still clearly in a position where they can be in the top 5. And as we know, Jason, they are a team that are really good at playing on Miramar. So if they can get himself maybe their very first chicken dinner of the last chance on this game, this would put them, normally push them up even in top 5.
And top 5 obviously would make them extremely happy, but the problem is they are running out of matches to do so. There's a lot of other teams gunning out for that position as well. So we're going to head on over to our commentators, though. You know what, for Maxman? You can throw it on over to John, Allen, and Blake here for once.
Okay, John Allen Blank, take it away.
Oh, you're so lame.
Imagine being so lame that you have to get Maxman to do your throws for you. What is this? What is going on?
You know, I particularly liked when he stumbled trying to get Max to throw to us in the first place.
Yeah.
And then Max was just like, you know, take it, boys. And we did. We took it off his hands. You know, now we'll take the pressure away, and we'll have to sit back here and watch for 30 minutes as some of the best teams of the world are going to get cut out. You know, we're not seeing a lot of these guys going through over to the grand finals. 11 teams will be leaving us now. A lot of these teams are fan favorites too. I don't think there's anyone here in this PMGC stage that no one's cheering for. I think everyone's cheering for these teams. I'm passionate about all these teams as well. There's so many cool and interesting step-ups in terms of performance, in terms of gameplay, so many separate regions. I think this is one of the most inclusive PMGCs we've seen in a long time, with a lot of different regions finding their star power, finding those members that can operate on that world stage, which is so cool to me. And I think that a lot of that comes down to just the format this year as well, where we have had a much more evenly based tournament format, in which case teams can get in, where, you know, if you do very well in your league stage, you get a big bump up in performance and points over towards those finals in PMPL, which has meant that a lot of our teams that are consistently the best have had that big chance and that big advantage to get towards the finals. And if they don't make it through the finals, well, they weren't good at sprints and they wouldn't have done good here. So we have the best performing on this grand world stage, with new stars and the right world stars as well here for us. So everything has aligned for this best, I will go ahead and say it, the best PMGC we have ever had. And with this Northern Circle as well, it has been chaotic, particularly with that last Erangel 2, and these teams, these players have had to deal with some very awkward scenarios and have dealt with them admirably as well.
We've seen a Northwestern Circle before, Blank. It was HVVP's game, and they couldn't have it at a more important time as well. We've seen, well, not only in just this tournament, back in Group Green as well, there was this Hard Northern Circle. They won that as well. Hard Northern Circles on Miramar are an HVVP speciality. They need these points now. Can they get them when it matters most? I feel like this is a team that would be so disappointed not to see in the PMGC finals in Jakarta. It wouldn't feel quite right to not have them there. And they're currently in 9th place. If we shut it down now, Inco far ahead of them.
Well, I mean, this is what I'm saying, that there's so many teams that we would lose that you would be hesitant to see not go through. And the thing is in the top 5, all of these teams, I would 100% support them going through to the grand finals. I would also be 100% sad if we didn't see the likes of BTR, HVP, Damwon, Reject, VPE, Aegon, Nigma, Bacon Time, Besiktas. There are so many teams here.
You're just naming the whole table.
Honestly, all of them. I would be so sad to see all of them go out. So every time someone bumps themselves up into the finalist position towards that top 5, I'm happy. I'm happy for them. I'm also sad for whoever drops down. It's terrifying. In the meantime, you could be very happy at home because you will be rewarded with a PMGC special crate from 2022, and that releases tomorrow. It's an early Christmas gift, guys, don't you worry. And it doesn't end on Christmas Day either. It goes all the way through January 8th, so if you missed it, you were spending time with family, maybe you were trying to put that phone down at those meals that you were spending with all your friends and family as well. Perhaps you can pick your phone back up again once it rolls around 26th and realize that the 2022 special crate is still here.
Sat in the corner of the party with your phone, getting your PMGC crate going on, thinking they don't know I've got my PMGC crate. Just, they're one step behind you. Don't worry, you'll be.
You are the
pretty
cool
happy
cat
with that.
in
Exactly.
that scenario.
You are the cool cat, indeed.
I don't think anyone wants to be called a cool cat these days, sadly.
You're a cool cat.
Oh, thanks, bro. I appreciate that. See, I like being called a cool cat. I'll take that one. In the meantime, a lot of these teams will have to be very cool indeed, because the pressure is on, massively so at this point in time. Some of these teams would like to get some more points. For Inco, I said, you know, they clock in at 9, they get the majority of their work done early, and then they relax the rest of the day. You know, they're efficient workers. You know, they're smart at working too. You don't put the effort in where you don't need to. But for Inco, that last game maybe wasn't the most productive power hour we have seen from Inco Gaming during this tournament. 63 points, 9 points found that last one. Usually for Inco, they're looking for a big game in terms of, you know, we're nigh on the 20 to 30 point mark, which really does see them safe. 9-point game, that's underneath the average that you would need to be hitting to make towards that top 5. Currently, they're right on the cusp of 63, and Gainlord is hesitant to let up right now, getting a lot of points every single game here on forward. Towards the start of last chance, things looked a little bit rickety for them, but the boat has been patched up. The raft looks a lot more safe and secure, and I think that Gainlord does have a chance now to get towards the grand finals.
Inco did send very central very early. It's what they do. They are now to the northwest of water treatment, pretty much slap bang in the center of the circle on this position. They'll be joining the likes of Gamelord in that middle set. Enigma Galaxy as well, crunching up on the south side of Crater Fields. Downone Gaming a little bit behind them on the queue. Alpha 7 pushing in from the northeastern side. Torrejomado right now, currently on the east cut of the circle. and will be pushing in from that eastern edge. A lot of teams looking to start to move in, especially teams on the southeast. DRS, chief amongst them, Puerto Paraíso, currently still being looted up by them.
It's a bit of a long run for them to get towards the circle itself. Interesting stats towards the beginning of the day was the amount of smoke usage that we saw. IHC absolutely being dominant in terms of that position with 90 smokes thrown over the course of yesterday, which is a lot going through there, which is nice to see. I think that when you look at that kind of number, it's a bit terrifying to some of these teams. And that's 16 per game on average, which is nice. You know, you always want to see that kind of number coming through.
Damwon making it to a compound underneath Game Lord. Again, very, very central, very early. 6 minutes into the game on Miramar as well to get to a central position. That's really quite snappy. It means you would have left your looting location in that 5th minute. And if you dropped out late as well, I mean, you're going to be fairly minimally looted. So a lot of teams getting out of the way. But look at that, level 3 helmet, level 2 vest, level 2 backpack. Pretty decent on those meds as well. Game Lord seem like they've managed to find a good spot.
Absolutely. HVP, on the other hand, up towards La Cobreria, decided not to head down towards Crater Fields as of yet. With this being further out towards that eastern side, I think that for HVP, it's more of a priority to them right now to be picking up loot in the early game towards that first 7 minutes, get themselves nice and geared, rather than trying to take up that ridge side, which requires a lot of time and resources to be put into that. You need to be early up that side too. So I think for HVP, this is not a bad idea to be picking up loot now, understanding this could be a very hard eastern shift on this next circle. In which case that ridge side doesn't become very valuable anymore to you whatsoever, because you have to come down off it. Let's remember that. If it's not definite on that position, when you are leaving that spot, you know, you're having to grab vehicles and send off the top side, more likely teams around this area will be spotting you and taking shots. And I think even going further beyond that point, yesterday and throughout Group Green, this is a position that HVP found so many points from. I think everyone's aware that this is happening now and will be hesitant not to be looking up towards the skies, towards those eagle perches that HVP have been taking up so often. So changing up the pace, changing up the game is essential for HVP.
One of the changes that they've made is actually Tixie's position is a lot further west currently than it usually is. Playing on the west Crater Fields. Normally he's playing on the east or at most to the west side of, or like the middle of the 2 craters, right, are in those ridge lines. Maybe that's something that they've learned from yesterday's games against Bacon Time pushing in on the back. Bacon Time won't be filling in that area right now, but IHC might. Besiktas up and into a scrap with LGD as we tune back on in to the east side of the circle near Cruz de Valle. Besiktas looking to disengage. LGD not going to lose a player, but Besiktas again losing a spot that early on into the game is not ideal. A tumble on 2 players, but Changxin not able to capitalize. The bullet's not quite going to fill the mag enough. MVM takes up the mantle, and there goes the vehicle. 2 knocks of Besiktas. They're going to be careening all the way down to 1 player alive.
Yeah, when you see that type of thing where it is still open ground and LGD is able to reposition very quickly into good spots, they are heavily accurate in these games. It's difficult to get away from the sightlines of them. They're rather, instead of trying and pop you out the vehicle, they'll just send bullets in. They saw the smoke and they realized that the thunder was going to come afterwards. Circle heads out towards that eastern side and HVP make the right call. VPE, on the other hand, very similar position to what they saw yesterday on that game where HVP won the Miramar. However, this is much more beneficial towards them. They have a very nice spot towards this circle to start to take shots out towards anyone on that western side. And now HVP, A7 forced to play those outer edges. It's so interesting to see this dynamic between A7 and HVP because they do tend to engage in combat quite early on. I think the only weird factor right now is that no one's going to be challenging A7. IHC, on the other hand, coming through La Cobreria right now, and HVP will have to be set up for something like that.
Potential for IHC to continue to move further in and try and swing over the north. They'll know that this is the HVVP zone, right? So now they're going to have their wits about them. Reject up and into the fight with Aegon XI8, playing on the south chunk of the central area here. IQ opens up with a knock onto Duello. Reject now active with 3. IQ cooking a nade. Spots Reiji around the corner. repositions away from the nade, doesn't take any damage for it. A Molotov from Reiji to slow that corner down, looking for the res. They need to hold off on the other side of the building, but Vampire over the top of the hill have got these third-party sightlines. It's going to make it really hard for Reject to do anything other than fight forwards towards Aegon XI8. The res did come through, so they are back to full 4, but they'll need some healing done if they want to have a chance.
So they have medkits as well. This is only 70%, and I8 looking a little bit healthier right now. Nades are now pulled out for Reject, looking to send them over towards that compound that I8 moved themselves into, towards that warehouse side. A lot of open space in there, so the nades can tumble and drop over towards just the very beneath of your feet. So gotta be careful for I8 going forward. I think that they started off that fight strong and now can kind of slow it down just a little bit, wait it out, try and get those stims on board and go again when they feel the time is right. But the moment where they are very central, it's happy days for them. Inco currently on a 2-2 split at the moment. They were central, now they're trying to hold out 2 zones. It could be dangerous for them with teams maybe wanting to come down towards that area. A7 on the other hand up towards water treatment, very high ground already achieved on their side. Mafioso up towards that northern side, watching the crossing on the road, making sure no one's coming down there. And they have good sightlines down towards DRS too, so they'll have to be very worried coming to this one. Hard shift down towards the south side. This is going to put Hacienda del Patron back in the action, and a vast majority of the circle now a little bit unplayable with that fielded area over towards the east that currently LGD are holding it.
All right, let's see what these teams on the north side have got. A little bit of a bitter test for them. Bacon time. Desperately in need of performance. 23 points, a poor game last game as well. Currently 40 points whole behind that 5th place bubble. 5 matches to make up that gap. I think after probably, I would say, moving into the last 3 games, we'll be able to start discounting teams at the bottom of the tables, but for now it is still possible for anyone to make it in. Vampire have got a pretty strong couple of buildings here to hold out the teams on the northwest.
Yeah, it is really nice to work from. I mean, there's a lot of open ground, and some of this area is held off, made sure it's free and clear just purely by the terrain they're currently holding in. Game Lord, nice and on high at the moment, but outside the circle, will have to move in. Currently just trying to hold out teams like Damwon, as well as IHC. In the meantime, HVP moved down to a compound just on the north side of the circle, where this road slits through the map.
Shots coming through, trades off Vavian first to fall, but it is back and forth. LGD lose 2. A blow dealt to the Korean squad, but it is given back twofold, and Forest peeks out. Lovely little spray there onto Suki. Last player for LGD. Going on into the fight, looking for a knock, and we'll be able to find it. YZ as well. Last time survivor on the previous map, looking for more here as well, and he takes down all of Damwon. LGD ruined the chances for Korean squads. It is unfortunate they'll be moving forwards with just the 1 player. 5 eliminations racked on up, and that is disaster for Damwon.
Game Lord just get decimated by AHC. You just move in as a 4-man squad, and Game Lord cannot hold back the tide that is IHC as they wash over them, and will leave that compound clean of any Game Lord players remaining. Titans down towards the southeast, playing on the high ground, looking down towards the eastern side. Very interesting end towards this Miramar, honestly. With Hacienda del Patron still in, awkward terrain down towards that south side. BTR holding there currently. I think for BTR right now, things do get a little bit scary. You need to put some points on the board to get them back into a position where they can leapfrog up into that top 5. I think they've been given a lot of chances where they could get those chicken dinners, being some good spots, but unable with the players they currently have to bring that firepower to the table.
Scarce reload, Enigma Galaxy. I think that was a tire spin out there for Ralph. Shots from Godless down the hill. A pivotal off angle coming through from IHC to slow down this aggression. Enigma Galaxy for sure would have taken them down if Godless had moved with this rotation from the rest of the squad, but over the top they go. They want the challenge, the fight, but it's bad because Lords launched an aid over their way. Oh, goodness me. 2 players down for Enigma Galaxy. Hamodi gets drawn short. Ralph as well, knocked on this approach. Godless, so important for IHC. He needs to stay alive in the spot to allow them the chance here. Icy, low HP, nade over the top, going to continue to come through from Lord. Nades find 2 from Enigma Galaxy. Icy and Alex doing a lot of work there, but a Molotov actually burning Alex away. That might tick him. Can he get the first aid off? Yep, the fire will go out as well. So first aid necessary. Over the back, there's Vampire as well. Ready and waiting for third party. There's Freak, spots it.
Goodness me, Freak, very important there from the sidelines, but Meku coming in with HVP, looking to finish up this fight on the third party, but gets turned away there. Godless tries to get out of dodge in the UAZ, very low.
no.
Freak also finishing off Meku from the sidelines. This is not the way they wanted it to go. This could have been a perfect opportunity for that third party, but losing a member on the process, not ideal. However, they had to punch their way into the circle somewhere, and this is probably the best place to do it on the top of the third party.
Do not expect that player out in the blue. Meku goes down to unfortunate circumstance there for HVVP. They'll be aware of it now. Freak still low, still ticking away. Zone 4, so the zone will start to out-heal the meds. And a nade over onto Alex from Tixie is good news. HVVP continue their bid for this hillside. Remember, this is the Northwestern Circle. This is the circles that HVVP should specialize in. Shots over their way, getting taken away. Lord dismounted as well. Heals come through, looking for Kitsune. As Tixie roams the hillside further. Freak disengages. He's moved on up and out of that blue zone position. The flush comes through. HVVP, 2 eliminations to show for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good opportunity. Learning from that last game in the case of, look, if we need to punch in somewhere, we need that battering ram to do it. And we cannot have 2 players behind us watching out in towards that circle, towards the zone. So they wait until it encloses just a little bit more before sending outwards. I think that you don't expect Freak out in the blue, like you say, in which case they do lose a player in that process, which is absolutely fine in my opinion. But now at least they have a position to move in towards the circle. Yes, Aegon and Reject are in front of them. But there's definite possibilities to pick up a position that Freak's currently playing in over on that western side. And it's better than nothing.
It's behind that big ridge line as well to the west of Aegon XIA. You can see that's exactly where they'll go. It's fully covered, and they can't play on the other side of the circle. Ghost, if Tixie had gone down there, that would have been disaster. So definitely necessary for that one. A nade over the top. Not going to land in the building. Will have spotted the arc, and Tixie going a little bit closer to it. But Matic somehow lands that nade across the road. Nick Galaxy take the tumble. HVVP up to 3 eliminations now. They can control this side, but Godless from IHC is still there. Is still in the shack that proved so dangerous for Nick Galaxy.
And when you hear that third party and you don't see an instant flush on the second, that you should know that there's at least one other player hovering around this area. But for HVP, again, this is a solved scenario right now where they're on that western side. They don't have too much to worry about. I think for Alpha 7, this is going to be a very difficult push down from that northeast edge unless they get a circle shift up towards them, which they do. This is a lot easier now for their side. But HVP have to continue onwards. Their march is made a little bit more difficult by the murky swamps of that I-8 position, as well as Reject in front of them. It's going to be difficult to get through there, and it might just be a case of waiting it out. Matic knows the position of Godless, just waiting for him to peek up for just a little bit. He has to move out of this position. So for HVP, should be another secure elimination unless the players from I-8 can pick this up away from them.
Godless might try and take a challenge, maybe just look for a cheeky little knock. Smoke is there. But yeah, you've got to imagine this draws to a close fairly soon. HVVP can swing down to the south side of the ridgeline, but then they're directly challenging Bigatron's sightlines coming on through from that southwest side of the circle. Bigatron been fairly quiet for them at the moment. They have been playing near the urban environment, near those buildings, and it's very unlikely that teams are going to be rotating in behind them. They can just chill out for a minute, but they will need to figure out where to go from here.
It is so difficult now to get past this position. Looking for Godless, an ideal scenario, pick up that elimination and maybe think where to move next. I think crashing down towards I-8 spot, not the greatest of ideas. We're heading further down towards the south. There is warehouses down there. Finally, he goes down to Inko. A very long distance shot.
Inko, by the way,
spot where that is.
That early rotation from Inko still very much paying off. It's working out yet again. Team in 5th place right now. I mean, it certainly is doing wonders for their table standings, Blank.
Yeah, and they went for a 2-2 split at the beginning as well. I mean, they lost a player, able to get the res up, but they secured 2 positions around the map. VPE tried to pick up the other, in which case they immediately regrouped towards that northern side. So they're securing positions within the map at the moment. Yes, it's not the most central position, but it is somewhere to play from. You have teams like DRS, Titans, BTR, all with difficult decisions ahead of them trying to move downwards. I do respect the hell out of A7's current predicament, because they're up towards this northeast side. They've already sent 2 players up playing as front men for them, trying to allow the rest of A7 to get through. They send up in the vehicle, and slowly but surely, they have just pulled each other towards this ridge side under the cover of each player. So sending up 1 towards the ridge side in Carrillo, getting Mythic up there next, and then allowing the rest of the team to move to them with the cover of those 2 players in that position. So a very, very slow, tactical, but successful push coming through from A7.
It's likely, though, with this ridgeline right in front of them, giving them the majority of their cover right now, they're going to have to fight Vampire or choose to go for Inko instead. So it is a squad fight in their very near future, Blank. It could be very, very tricky. Aegon, X8 and Reject have been sharing this compound as well on the western side for a long, long time.
I mean, they both just realized that this is a strong spot, and it would be unideal at this point in time with the amount of low ground and flat grounds around them to go for a fight. Very easy third party on the cards for them. DRS trying to pick up that position behind the guys from A7. Rules gets there, will be dispatched.
Unsure about that rotation. They knew Alpha 7 were up on that cliffside, and it was a completely bare knuckle push. Just going straight over towards it. Luckily, they do get knocked back over their way, but DRS have lost 2 in the process. 2 of their players going down. Leaves only Gianti on the reses. Delta still on this hillside. And only the one that is really resable in this scenario, Alpha 7. Fortunately, losing Mafioso, so they are going to be nerfed down to 3. Rules falls, and they pick up a point for it, but you don't want to be losing players when that squad fight is so close on the doorstep.
Bacon time, now an opportunity to pick up some big points here. Very central spot, nice high ground to play around with. A lot of buildings to cover, to hold on to, but also a lot of little bits of cover that they can hold on the sides from. And I think that's the major thing that you have to concern yourself with here on Bacon time side, is that there's hills going up this position. It's hard to push onto it without vehicles, which will really expose a lot of players coming up that way, in which case Bacon Times can kind of isolate and consolidate their forces onto one spot. DRS moves up, and A7 so far taking a lot of damage from them despite getting the initial knock over their side.
DRS have had them on broadside with very little cover for a long, long time, and now Alpha 7 are feeling that punishment, that pressure pushing on in. Revo takes the challenge, hits the drop shot for 1. Carrillo wants to try and keep the squad alive, as it's only now him and Revo standing, but only the 1 for DRS as well. Gianti falls back, regroups with a nade coming over the top. That's a Molotov to slow things down, and a nade sent back their way. I think that's coming in from Inko across the way, or even Vampire just over that ridgeline. The res gets off for Gianti. Revo stays alive as well. Now can Carrillo find what he's looking for? Can he get that knock? Because they're all grouped up. Vampire as well could find it if they launch the nade in the right direction. Vampire just slowing this fight down, making it so hard, lines them up, hits the deck, cannot stay exposed for too long, and it's Inko to take shots over towards DRS as well. Look at the fire coming in over the heads of Alpha 7, suppressing DRS, and there's the nade they were looking for. Revo takes down DRS, now they can turn their attention to Inko.
A second place team going head to head with A7 at the moment does get dispatched. A really good regroup, and this is where now Bacon Time have to consolidate. And the hill that I was talking about that Titans have to push up towards, they're one of the 4-man teams in the lobby. This is a push they can make. It's a little bit difficult, but they are held short here. Sending smokes up towards that top side as well as nades to clear out the positions close by. In the meantime, HVP taking shots down towards BTR, trying to close out this rotation down towards the southwest and open up a spot for them to move in. 1 knock found at the moment, and BTR in dire straits at the moment with no real space to move through.
HVP just about using every single inch of that ridgeline that they've been given. They know where BT are now, but Matic's moving slowly, speeds up a little bit as soon as those bullets start to land. Zuxi traded off as Tixie's on the ball. Liquid looking for answering shots, but Tixie does get knocked in the process. They cannot afford to lose another player here if they want to have a big game. Blank. Tixie will need to be rezzed. Kitsune right nearby, but Tixie caught out. The smoke covering off the answering spray from Matic to keep their heads down. And Bigatron not going to fall just yet. Oh, just about going to survive behind that. The vehicle does go up, but the reses are starting to come through for Bigatron. They're keeping themselves alive. And the circle moves away. They'll have to go further. And in 40 seconds, that will shrink.
Very difficult push here for Bigatron. The major thing that's keeping them in this one is having 4 players alive. They've got a lot of squad members to really take these angles off of them. Matic, though, hitting some nasty shots. A great headshot down the way, really putting the hurt down towards Bigatron, and they're hesitating. A foot is exposed, and Matic tries to take some more shots, eking either way and
There
which, but that will be them over.
Finally bringing a third knock into the mix. Works out for the Matic, able to those final shots, spots Misery. M249 to try and just suppress that ridgeline. HVVP, they're going to have to move first, probably, out of the teams to their northern side after they've dealt with Bigatron.
Still have cover to work with, though, moving off towards that east. 10 teams remaining. Gemfoster steps up for a second, but instantly answered by the guys from HVP. Damage sent over towards Zuxi in the back, and realistically, this team coming through very strong with the Mini 14s, with DMRs. It's a very individual and unique playstyle coming through from them. Zuxi goes down. HV up to 5 eliminations so far. Make that 6. As Matic actually takes down players coming through from Aegon IA, in fact.
Very, very nice. Aegon XI8 trying to third party onto this engagement, and they're being turned away at the door. 10 eliminations for HVVP. What the hell just happened? Did they wipe out Aegon XI8? I think they did. They didn't even take a knock over their way either. Now Reject have taken that opportunity to leave, to move forwards. HVVP crunching on in. Everybody's popping off now. Bacon time, 2 players down. Right in that central position, high ground compound, very, very valuable, and Titans have the numbers advantage. Vampire rolling on up in the northern side, and look at the teams that are starting to fall. Blank, the teams going down, and the teams above HVVP. 12 eliminations on the game right now, and Squash, last player standing for Inco to remove potentially another player from the teams above them. Titan from the south side, their only real competition here now. And what a bloodbath on this northern side. Finally, HVVP turn up the heat. They make it work, and they're turning their attention to Reject. 13 eliminations. Vampire looking across the ridge. Inco down, and yet more teams fall ahead of them.
This is a cataclysmic performance coming through from HVP as they just ruin a lot of these other squads' chances. They have that position. IA crashed directly on top of them. Remember, they had 4 players, and HVP send them packing. And now they have great sightlines over to everyone in this area of the map who are all squashed into a tiny space, have to fight off against one another. Sure, there's really not much cover whatsoever for the guys from HVP, but they're making this happen. We'll have got a nice little bit of a resupply on Aegon I8 before they had to move forward a little bit more. These DMRs, the M4s, working out very well for HVP on these long-range fights, these long-range engagements where some of these people in the lobby, they're prioritizing having the DBSs, having the UMPs over the DMRs themselves, but a few nasty little headshots coming through from the guys from Matic as well as Kitsune. Disgusting stuff.
Oh, Titan, they're going to have to leave this position though. HVVP need to time this perfectly. Puncher just hits the branches. They're getting cover from it. Reject looks for the spray to light it up, and Matic goes down. Vampire are taking their turn as well at the batting post, but with 13 eliminations, if they can just survive long enough, they have done so much to put a dent in that gap, and the teams ahead of them falling like flies. Inco already down, Tixi laid low, and now just one player. The IGL Kitsune for HVVP stays alive. I think he might just be in the next circle. Which teams can survive the oncoming onslaught?
Realistically, HVP should have gone down 10 minutes ago. It was such a difficult push for them. They had hardly anything to work with. The fact that they've got this far with this amount of eliminations is absolutely gargantuan for their side, up towards 6th place now. But like you say, they just need to survive a little bit longer. Besiktas at a single player, Reject down to 2. There is a high chance that both these teams go out fairly soon, with VPE understanding they have to move out this way too. And we're on knife zone, and this will just pull further in.
Bacon Time suffering. They need a big game here. Blank, Vampire, Bacon Time, 2 teams that you would have expected to be in those top 5 at the start of the last chance phase. But right now, at Death's Door on their tournament, 5 eliminations for Vampire, 4 players alive. It's good for them, but Bacon Time suffering a little bit heavily as Titan roll on up into the door. HVVP eliminated, 6th place, 13 eliminations. It's a whole load of points for them. They'll be happy with that. And Titan roll on through. It's breakfast as Bacon Time chowed down on by Titans. only the one player, two players active. Orbicile is there, but they are just going to get torn through. Titan move on in. 3 players alive for Titan, but 4 for Vampire, and they're looking to turn it up. Titan getting cut out as well. Peace is low for Besiktas, but they make it into top 3 as Reject now with a duo. Vampire with 4. They've been holding behind this ridgeline for so long, but now they're going to move on out. They execute on their final strategy, their end game, and 11 eliminations so far, racking it on up. And Peace, the last player to stand in their way, will be bringing in that 12th point for them, and a chicken dinner for Vampire. You can see the elation in this squad. From the bottom of the tables, a necessary time to stand up.
100%. I mean, like, there is only so long that you can stumble before you either fall down or find your footing. And VPE have found it here on that game of Miramar. 4 players still alive. This is much more the standard type of playstyle we've seen from VPE, getting back in towards the mix. Schweppes putting up a big performance, which has not happened in a little while, whereas we kind of expect it from this guy being one of the best players on the squad. I am pleased with that result coming from VPE. They took that central position, and you know what's really interesting about it is the fact that HVP, if it moves over towards that northwestern side, they hold on that ridge, and they dominate from that ridge. But we saw VPE get a very good result from the exact same position they took yesterday. It moved further towards the east, and VPE are able to translate from that spot. So very well done to Vampire there. Most players getting a very even result of damage and eliminations and knocks. So a great game overall for VPE. But is it enough at this point?
When the night is darkest, the Vampires come out to play, and they are here with a big chicken dinner to come through for the squad. As we've been saying time and time again, so necessary. HVVP, 13 eliminations on the game. A lot of teams ahead of them going down early, pushing up for that 5th place bubble, pushing up to be in that PMGC finals, because Blank, they needed this for them to be able to stay alive in this tournament. You expect them to be going there. They expect it of themselves. And both of those 2 rosters putting in the shift.
See what that win meant to Vampire Esports here, getting them back in the running for top 5 to potentially keep that door open to get into the PMGC Grand Finals. 27 points here picked up from the team. A fantastic performance, but honestly, there was, like we were saying before, Max, when we were watching the match, there was just so much happening. HVP as well, having a slaughter in that last match in the matter of about 7 seconds.
I mean, we were talking about it during that game, Jason, that for Vampire Esport, if they want to be able to catch up, they need a chicken dinner. It was like, no, at least 10 eliminations. They a little bit outdo that, 27 points on the game. And this just gives them, I think, a glimmer of hope they desperately needed, because things were looking so grim for them before this match. But those mini 14 fights, Sansa, were just amazing from Flukev and Stone. Like, these guys are on point, and of course, Schweppes being Schweppes, he's just always going to pop off.
Yeah, it wasn't just that, by the way. It was also the fact that a lot of the teams in the middle of the leaderboard are also getting eliminated. Teams from the bottom are performing, so now it's going to be very, very close. But Matic and what he did to IA, what he did to Reject, what he did to this entire lobby this game, even holding on to or closing on BTR, not allowing them to move for such a long time. So much damage from him, so many elims. Very great game for HVVP. But if I'm being honest, this is the second time that we're seeing them on Miramar get gifted the first, second kind of zone. A lot of pressure is alleviated from their shoulders. So I want to see them perform, like you mentioned before, Maxman. I want to see them perform the same way Inco would if they weren't gifted the zone. Where is that performance from HVVP?
I do have to agree, but in general, I think that this is them willing to be just a little bit quicker on their rotations, even in zones where they're very familiar with, and I think that that's just a great change to what we saw from them yesterday. And man, they eliminated, there you go, that's the word, 2 teams in a matter of like 10 seconds. Like, they just flipped a switch in that game and just went super aggressive. So good from HVP. We'll see if they can keep it up in the next matches.
Well, you know what, Maxman? I'm going to flip the switch here and send us to a quick break while we get things ready to go for our third match of the day. Welcome back, everyone. As again, we finished off our second match of the day, but we still have 4 to come, but only 4 matches left to go, which that means the top 5 teams at the end of the day will be going through into the PMGC Grand Finals, where other teams are already waiting to participate over in Jakarta in January. But before we can even hop into our third match, which of course will be on Sandhack, I want to remind you guys once again about Sony Xperia 1.4 Xperia Stream, which was made in collaboration with professional esports players. You can get 90 Hz in PUBG Mobile with Xperia Stream's total cooling system and multiple ports for intensive gaming and streaming. I learned yesterday not to throw that over to Max and Sandstorm because they don't remember the last word for some reason, but one thing they do remember is how awesome Prime Gaming is, because you can get exclusive in-game free PUBG Mobile items as well as additional content beyond that. And even with the Prime benefits, it's a win-win-win situation. Just no chicken dinner involved.
I don't know how that works, but I thought it came with it, with the deal, but that's fine. I don't know.
Let's take a look at our overalls. Let's see where we're currently standing here. Alpha 7 going to be in first place at 103 points. And we have seen Titan move up to third, but there hasn't been a shift at the moment in our top 5. However, HVVP, Vampire Esports, Game Lord, they're coming. Problem was Game Lord got 0 points in the last game.
Yeah. Oh Lord, they're coming. It's Vampire Esports. Vampire started off the day in 15th position right now, Sandstorm. Now in 7th position, just at the door of making it potentially in that top 5 position. One other just even average game would be enough, but we know the competition towards the top is just so tough right now. All the teams are taking down one another. It's a tough position to be in, but at the bottom, it's looking a bit grim for the teams right now.
It is looking grim at the very bottom for Bacon, Egon IA, and for Nigma Galaxy. But for Damwon Kia, it is about 15 points for them. But realistically, we're looking at LGD, even Besiktas, 56 points, 10-point difference from them, and 5th place. But realistically, 5th and 6th place, I think, are the one, or 5th and 4th place are the ones that are going to be open to, let's say, competition or contest right now for the top 5 spots. Alpha, DRS, I'm not sure anyone's going to be able to take their spots away with only 4 games left to go. And the way that Alpha's been looking and the way DRS has been playing, very, very passive early on, just making sure they survive into the later stages of the game. It's going to be very interesting to see these last games for sure.
Yeah, you have to imagine that if you're the likes of one of those 2 teams, you just don't even care about playing super aggressive. You don't care about winning matches. All you care about is just surviving to the late game, right? Try to get as many points built up just from placements alone, and ideally no one should be catching you. But let's see your 2 teams to watch here and see if any of those teams could potentially catch up into our top 5. HVP, Vampire, Alpha 7, Maxman. A little bit of a cop-out answer, but you know what? I gotta respect it. It's fair.
I feel like if I pick any team outside the top 5 right now, I'm just going to bring bad luck to them right now. I've done it for BTR. I've done it for Game Lord. Like, it's got to end right now, so I'm just I'm going
HVP
for the good top
and VP aren't top 5 though.
Sorry, the teams are like not in the race right
Okay.
now.
That
Sorry,
makes
yeah,
sense.
we're close to top 5, yeah.
Looking over towards you though, Sandstorm. Again, 2 teams in top 5 at the moment, and HVVP. Talk me through it.
HVVP, because I want to see them perform again without the zone giving them a huge advantage at the very beginning, and especially when we're looking towards Sandhawk, these guys need to perform a little bit better. And when I'm looking towards the rest of the teams, Titan, just consistency is there for them towards the end of day 1 and slowly getting themselves in those top 4, top 5 positions multiple times. So pretty good for Titan. And DRS, Keep up that passive play in the early stages of the game. Get yourself as a nice, cozy position towards the end, and you should be perfectly fine and ready for the grand finals.
Well, I have read the script here, have learned that HVP will get a Northwestern Island zone. Let's see if it's going to work out for him, though, as we head over to our commentators to kick off the third match of the day.
Going into match number 3 with Sanhok at the door. After this game, Blank, I'm thinking that we're going to be starting to see some teams really kind of cut off from the top of the tables, from that bubble position. Blank won't have been able to hear me as I was saying that, but you guys on stream will have been able to hear you, hear what I was talking about. After this game, Blank, I was saying that we're going to be starting to see teams cut off from the top 5 bubble spots.
That is correct, John. Thank you for consolidating that into a nice, concise point for me to understand and then reply to, which I will do right now.
Oh,
we are,
good.
yes, 100% going to be seeing some of these teams being cut off towards the bottom side. I think for Nigba Galaxy, i8, Bacon Time, if they do not have a good performance here that sits around about 50 points, it's going to be very difficult over the next 3 matches at the end of the day to actually hit up towards that top side lobby. Certainly possible with this type of a sprint format, and particularly with the way that the lobby currently is quite evenly split all the way down to the bottom. There's still a chance. I think Inco right now is that team that everyone's gunning up towards. Right now, HVP is currently tied with them at 66 points. That tiebreaker currently being the placement points they were able to accrue on Inco's side. 38 eliminations, but only 28 rank points there for HVP as opposed to 32 on Inco. They do need a little bit more. However, Inco so far have been struggling to find that golden kind of opportunity they were able to find in the past couple of days where they were getting those big points, getting those big numbers put up.
HVVP currently 3rd highest eliminations in the lobby. 44 for Alpha 7 and IHC on 41. So they have definitely had an impact, I think it's safe to say. See if they can do so again. But Inco, that central style, working out for their placement points, which after all is that tiebreaker position as we come close to our first circle coming through.
Wait for that one to hit. Obviously, Inco, we're on board with them right now. Needing to put up a good performance at the moment in 5th place. Right on the edge of being knocked out here. VPE, things looked very dire for them. I think they were down towards that 15th place position at the start of the day. Now up towards 7th at the moment, which is incredible to see for them. 62 points, looking to get up towards the top 5. Going to be hard to dismount DRS, but with Alpha 7 taking 103 points, putting that buffer between them and 2nd place quite high, and first team to reach triple digits here in the last chance. You know, there is a lot of opportunity for other teams to leapfrog underneath some of these guys like Titans, IHC, Inco, DRS, who have yet to find those big games consistent like we're seeing from A7 at the moment.
And if you're one of the teams that is looking to chase that bubble, you're very happy to see Alpha 7 earning all of those points, right? You're looking for them to take those points away from the other top contenders, unless all of those other guys are finishing in 4th, 5th, 3rd places, that sort of area at the same time. You're happy that Alpha 7 are taking a big chunk away from you because it's unlikely that you're going to get up to that first position or challenge for it, but you just want to have that bubble reduced as low as possible so that when you have a pop-off game, like your HVVP, like your Vampire Esports, you have managed to put yourself back in the running.
Sogo heads up towards the northwest side. VPE, HVP, not happy yet though. I think with this kind of circle, we've seen a lot of times it head over towards that eastern side, making that crossing from the northwest infinitely more difficult. I think with the way that we see this lineup from Besiktas, A7, Reject down towards down 1, which almost makes this semicircle that encloses around the northwest island, is so hard for VP and HVP to leave that island without having to take some very early fights in this game. And we know with the way that we've extended how long these games actually last for. I mean, you used to see Sandhawks finish around 21 minutes sometimes in very hectic scenarios. Now we're usually looking at that 26-minute mark where the game comes to a close. So very interesting stuff in terms of the amount of time that you have to spend getting through a lot of these engagements. And it's no longer a case of you get through that one engagement and then you can just kind of wait out towards the end of the game. Those 5 minutes may seem like a very short amount of time. But when you get to those final circles, 5 minutes can be the difference between a 10th place and a 2nd place.
Very early move from Reject up to get that crossing. 3 players already all the way over there. Duello still as a backstop, but this is a central lobby, and slap bang in the center is on that northwestern island. Game Lord rotating around the northern side with a boat, likely to make landfall to the west point, just west of Hartin, on the north side of that island. They're giving the rest of it a very wide berth, though. You can see that they're not going to take any sort of chances whatsoever. In the case Besiktas are holding on that northern side, but they are moving down south towards that bridge. Vampire looking to try and control that crossing, but they've allowed Reject in on the south side into one of the strong compounds on the northwestern island underneath those cliffs that HVVP will be looking to exert control over.
Yeah, getting here early is a little bit of a Hail Mary, honestly. It's one of those positions that gives you a lot of comfortability. And Inco were looking for this as well, it seems. You know, hoping to sit out the majority of the game. And with Reject already being in that position, goodness me, now Inco's in a really tough spot because this entire macro decision, this entire push from them gets sent away, and they're left feeling a little bit questionable where they want to go next. That confusion starts to set in. Where do we head towards? Which positions can we take on the map that haven't already been taken? And I think this is where it gets very, very different for Inco, considering a lot of teams have made that analysis, watched the VODs from yesterday, done their homework, and realized that Inco are just finding good spots in the circle early on in the game, which could work out towards the end game, and then just sitting there. And more often than not, they're finding those spots. You can see that confusion really coming back to bite them because they are just circling, and there's no longer anywhere for them to go.
Dogs of War of HVVP smell the cordite on the breeze underneath them. They're looking for those sneaky little shots. You could see just peeking in and out. Matic wants to get any sort of information, probably more valuable at this stage than the eliminations, because HVVP already have a high expected value point scoring position. Have to see where the next circle does go, but at the moment it is very much in their favor. Game Lord made net landfall on the northwestern point of the island west of Hartin, and they are now land fallen. Duello finding Squash, and again, Reject exerting a lot of control for getting here very, very early.
Yeah, it's literally the Inco play, and it's funny to see it come back to bite them because you have this singular play where it's worked out so many times because other teams have not been going for this same rotate. As soon as another team takes up that position, Inco is just completely floundered by that. I genuinely don't think that they knew what to do after a team was in that position. They had no backup plan, to say the least, and hoping that that would just take them all the way. And this is the one thing that I was worried about, the one thing that I thought would cause problems in future for Inco, and it's certainly starting to rack up now as they're not finding those points. Again, 54 at the start of the day, able to get 12 points on the day after getting quite a lot of eliminations from that bankside position over on Erangel, but it's not really brought them up to speed with some of the other squads towards the top of the lobby, like Titans, who have made a really good run for it, trying to secure their place in that grand finals.
If you remember, Blank, we were talking about where the bubble is looking to be at the end of today, as Lord takes a tumble. We were looking at how many points were able to be earned in the survival stage, where they all played. Oh dear, we'll talk about that shift in a second. But where we're looking at that bubble being is on that 10-point average line. At the moment, a lot of teams are falling quite far beneath that at this stage. So we might have a reduced bubble at this point. But Blank, tell me about this shift, because it is quite dramatic.
It really is quite horrible. This is what I was talking about earlier, where, you know, HVP and VPE still worry for themselves when you see a shift like that. Zone 2 is always the hardest shift that we are going to see. So it could really go anywhere a lot of times within this circle. Heads hard up towards that northeastern side, which sits us on that bridge. Now, a lot of teams at the moment, again, prioritizing those central spots, have almost ruined themselves by taking these positions down towards the south side of the mountain. I think you're going to be struggling for a lot of them. Titans, on the other hand, who have yet to move, actually secure themselves a good spot within the lobby if they move in the next couple of minutes, purely because there's so much open space on this eastern side. It could be west, it could be east, but if you're on the western side, you're in a world of hurt anyway with the amount of teams already here.
The Inco duo sending as fast as they can towards the water, and trying to potentially play underneath that bridge. That worked out for them in the last game, so why not? They have managed to pull up on that west side of the bridge that connects the Northwest Island and the mainland.
So open though, that crossing.
Yeah, it really is. I'm surprised they even got that far, to be fair, as a duo. But once again, Vampire play on the hill to the northeast side of the HVVP mountain. But this time around, HVVP move in nice and early to get a little bit of a foothold to give them a route in. Last time we saw them come into conflict as IHC take a fight with LGD, and actually Alex controlling the roll-up nut really beautifully there as a solo outpost for IHC. We'll be able to look for these flushes as well. Really, really good stuff. But when we've seen Vampire contest on that little mound to the northeast side of HVVP, we've seen them not move early enough, and HVVP have learnt that lesson.
Absolutely. I think getting up towards this position gives you a lot of high ground control. I think for HVP at the moment, you know, those elimination counts are really giving them the majority of the points that they need. And I think it's this point in time where this circle isn't always going to favor us, but what we can do is we can shift from this mental play style of, look, we have the circle itself, so let's just continue to sweep. We'll play that 2-2 position. When they don't get the circle like this, I think they just have to completely start thinking about, right, we have to go into full elimination mode and start bringing out the big guns and just taking as many shots as possible. Because if we can clear out teams, we're technically clearing out space. And I like that from HVP. IHC rolling up, pretty much completely destroying the rest of LGD, who were at 60 points and they were bringing it back. But after this unfortunate loss, going down in 16th place now, which happens more often than not for LGD, a very streaky team. Some games they look like the best team in the lobby and maybe even the best team out of PMGC. Then other games they look like this, where it just feels like they're not even part of the conversation. And that's a really difficult thing for me to analyze on the desk, for the actual desk to analyze over on their side, as well as for you guys at home, because it feels like if you want to cheer for LGD, sometimes you're cheering for an LGD that seems completely different from the norm. It's odd to see, and I think I'd like to see LGD bring it back into that position where they're performing similarly every single time. However, at this rate, I don't think they're getting towards the grand finals.
The circle again onto the bridge. Somehow, Blank, Inco are in a central position. Okay, it's just one of the facts of the universe that if there's a circle, it's very, very likely that Inco are right in that middle spot. But Nick the Galaxy move around the north side and scout out towards underneath that bridge. And actually, with Inco swimming across, trying to make it to the other side, that could be difficult. Vampire this time around, however, are going to control that approach. It didn't work out for their control over Inco, but Nick the Galaxy will feel the brunt of that pain. Ralph spotted, shot down, Schwepp picks up the flush.
HVP even got involved on that engagement as well, taking shots down that way. VPE, though, in a good spot at the moment. Like you said, though, oh, dear, he has the vehicle underneath. Try and keep these players off him. Keeps pulling out the nade. That is mean. That is really mean.
God, that is a
like
threatening presence.
Yeah, a little exclamation mark above his head. Alpha 7, up against IHC. It's a knock apiece. 2 4-man squads. So far, though, Godless getting knocked 2. That's them down to just 2 players. Continuing on that streak. 2 for 2. I would love to see this fight right now. I mean, it is all going off. I mean, IHC would really like to get some points, and purely taking out A7 out the way means that a lot of those points being ripped away from the top of the lobby. IHC could probably secure a little bit of a better position towards that top side of the top 5.
Bacon Time with a strong position as well. Vampire had their turn. HVVP had their turn. It is Bacon Time's turn to step up from the group green heavy hitters. But IHC demolishing on this south side might ruin Alpha 7's chance. You don't want to let IHC be getting these points if you're chasing for that bubble either, because they are much more within reach than Alpha 7 are. So you do want to root for them. DRS rolling across the top of the bridge. Nobody else had this idea, Blank, but it seems like nobody else had a good idea either. Into the back of the pickup, and they'll be playing with the cover.
I like that a lot. It's like everyone's, we got to go underneath the bridge. And DRS is like, why don't we just use the bridge? But it was made for. Let's just go on top.
Maybe not all the way.
This makes no sense. In fact, everyone else in the lobby, completely illogical usage of the bridge, which is, this is a comfortable way across, let's swim. That's not how I see bridges in particular. However, Inco seems to find success off the back of that approach anyway. Alpha 7, though, with 2 players, actually taking down more from IHC. So once again, another 2 for 2. And holding on, another knock comes through on that side. That's VPE, Vampire getting involved.
They needed to be able to get up in there for the vault, but now there's 2 players down on the inside. Alpha 7 holding off against IHC. First knock is close, but there's 2 players still on the inside to handle. Carrillo gets the spray down, needs the weapon swap, a sliver of HP on the inside, just jittering around the corner. Nervous now, but the fancy feet win out the day. Falls back, doesn't go for the flushes, doesn't get greedy, and sticks the res. He knows that the last player from IHC will not be able to get this res off before he can.
Close.
So he'll be able to play on the 2 players. Carrillo stays alive, gets Revo back into the fight, repositions Godless around the side, a DBS, a nade around the corner, looks to just slow things down, or certainly give them a little bit of fear.
my
And IHC
God.
fall. It's an off angle coming through from Aegon XI8, and Carrillo keeps Alpha 7 at the top of the table.
I do not believe what I've just seen. Alpha 7. That's an insane haul from them, but now I8 looking to get involved. But again, Revo, Carrillo, you cannot count either of these guys out. UZM spots the player crossing, nades going through the doorway, trying to keep Revo under pressure. This splits them up, might not be able to take that 2v1, the crossfire, so it will be the 1v4s, but a load of damage pouring through.
Another test for Alpha 7. This time Aegon XI8. Revo has the bulk of the health right now, and Carrillo is down. They've taken it in turns, and nades towards the back are going to make it even harder. Revo split from his teammate right now. And he looks for the challenge. First knock, taken down. Excellent start. Needs to find another. Looks for the spray. Crosses the doorway, and he falls down. Aegon XI8 proved to be just a little bit too much. You can't really blame them coming off the back of that fight. The circle shifted down south, so now Aegon XI8 with a brilliant compound. HVVP controlling the hillside on that western edge of it. Down 1 trying to challenge, but in the meantime, Game Lord and Besiktas trying to leave from Harten.
Marvalo up with the DBS. Son HP also laid bare there. Hits the deck. The helmet bouncing off the wood there. Makes the resounding sound of defeat on that side. BTR, similarly, Zuxi going up against 6. Misery's already down, but Titan's in a worse spot. But nades pouring over the top, and Jem Foster cannot handle the amount of firepower coming out from Titans.
2 players down. BTR trying to activate now with the
Liquid.
DBS. 1 and 2. 2 shots, 2 knocks. Liquid has to worry about his left flank though, because Teak is there. Sprayed down, and he will be able to find a knock over onto one of the forward players from Bigatron. There's a res going on in the backside, and Teak is pushing up. Zuxi wants to stick this one, knows that Teak might commit, but hang on a minute. He pushes over. Titan take down Bigatron, and Zuxi caught unawares there. You've got to wonder what was going through their mind. You take the challenge. You know Teak's pushing, but Titans stay alive on 2.
This is one of those speed plays. You either commit to one decision
Oh,
or the other.
no.
What is that? Out in the water with the loot crate. A small island with a compound down towards the southeast. Maybe Titans want to pick that up. I don't know how close anyone can get towards that position. Nenebete might be able to swim his way down. Remaining in this game for a long, long time for Inco, but I don't know if these placement points are going to cut it for them. Titans for Tixie and HVP looking to move up towards down 1's position. They got ahead of them nice and early, but nade's still pouring through. Favian moves down, knows he has to get off this top side, considering this is no longer an ideal spot for either of these teams. Song waiting.
Favian leaves. Wants to take a dip. Maybe looking to go all the way across, but doesn't quite get into the deep water in time. Maybe he thought that it was a little bit deeper there, but there's quite a lot of shallows in this river. You have to be very careful when trying to move forwards on it. HVVP moving forwards towards down 1 now as the circle pushes them into this engagement. Sung close to the rock. Needs to hold off against at least one of these players. Kitsune swings out wide. HVVP cannot afford to lose a player at this stage. They need to keep it together now. Getting the damage in. Kitsune goes low on the wide, deep swing. Sung will be falling. Forest now, last player standing for down 1 as HVVP just about holding it together. Will be caught out, and now they can move further down, but Kitsune is bleeding out. Down 1 eliminated. The chase is on. HVVP, they're up in 5th now, Blank.
The fact that none of them actually went down is a huge shout for the performance going forward. Reject, though, still spotting up towards that way. Duello looking towards that position. I8, 6 eliminations so far, looking to take down Duello. That nade should do the trick. Takes him down. 7 eliminations for I8. Maku taking a huge amount of damage from VPE, who are watching them as they walk down this side. It's completely barren, open ground for them. And 9 eliminations for Vampires, looking to set themselves up towards that top side of the lobby already.
It felt like HVVP just played this a little bit too slowly, and now they're paying the price for it. 2 first aids as actually Fluke does go down and repositions Stoned, looking for that cross. Will have another first aid, but the drop down will take him down. Ravenclaw's there watching, and Matic will be the last player alive for HVVP. Has to just go for a shot. Try and pick up an elimination if you can. It would be great, but Schwepp, he escapes the first set of spray, but needs to go for the reload, and he's spotted by Ravenclaw. Unfortunate for HVVP to not pick that up, but Vampire going to be really slowed down by that. They'll lose a lot of scouting power, and they'll lose the potential to go closer to this. Bacon Time, by the way, still alive. They are swimming across now and getting off to the shoreline. There's Shirty, and because Vampire were losing players blank, that sightline was denied and allows them an opening.
Still not so bad for Vampire. They're realistically the only ones with a strong position here other than I8, who are looking to put up a big performance this game and set themselves up towards that 6th to 9th place bracket where there's a chance to get towards that top 5. They will need another big game to do it, but we've seen them do it before. UZM gets towards the coast. Stone's trying to take shots. 10 eliminations for Vampire. 4 players still on board, and already we said they're in the top 5 and they're looking to put up more points on this game, which might even see them up towards maybe even top 2 if the RS go out soon.
Vampire taking shots over to Bacon Time, trying to stop their landfall, but there's always that foothold that they've got in already. Shirty, Orm style, they just want to stay alive at this stage. They cannot afford to go down this early in this one. 7 teams remaining. Going down at this point would pretty much cut them out, the top 5 entirely. Big Galaxy take the tumble. Vampire really striking out, not only for the top 5 blank, maybe looking to try and jump up to compete with Alpha 7 after this one.
Absolutely, this is what I'm talking about, is that with the amount of eliminations here on Sandhawk and so many more available eliminations for them, this could be a gigantic game for these lads.
Oh dear.
You can see these guys are just trying to get onto the edge of the rock, because I think in certain cases you can actually start punching. It's very unlikely you're able to hit it, but it's very dangerous being close to these players because there is a chance it happens. Everyone just chilling on this side, forced to take a breather, but they will have to move out from the side of this rock soon. Bacon Time would look to get close, but unlikely, as Aegon with 3 players now have to pick up as many eliminations as possible, deny them from VPE, but a great start from Vampire. They sink the fangs in.
Vampire need to push though. They are the ones outside of the zone right now as Aegon XA8 take the coastline. They're playing off some of the very little pieces of hardcover. There's quite a lot of trees which cut off a lot of angles and a lot of sightlines, and Vampire are going to use that. They're going to put these nades over the top as Fluke enters nade range. A lot of damage sent. Ghost taking the knock, and that's actually going to go over to Shirty. From that coast side, he did move up. Orb style on the forefront as well. Able to take shots from behind this rock. He's not in the zone, sure, but he's going to play spoiler to all of this engagement. Bacon Time, 4 eliminations now on the game. Shirty moves out wide. What's the challenge? 5 eliminations on the game. Schwepp falls as well, and Shirty moves into position. Fluke behind the rock cannot step out because IQ's there, and the blue zone's pushing Vampire in. AQ maybe going down to Shirty here as he moves into the next circle. Bacon Time start to go up on the coastline. IQ down, and Fluke now takes the challenge. Shirty's there, and the Mike Ruzi gets a good spray. Takes down the 4th position for Bacon Time as 3 teams remain. 6 eliminations, but Orm Styles here as well. Looking for Schwepp in the back line. Ice gets up into the fray, but gets knocked back immediately. Shirty is down and into position. Comes Chianti from DRS. A last stand for DRS towards those top 5 positions as he crawls on forwards. Vampire down to 1. DRS on 1. And Bacon Time looking for the res, but can they get shut down? No, the nade is not loosed. A 2-player potential, but Fluke in a 1v1 standoff.
Can maybe pick up his players, but unlikely to peek out too soon. Circle will move both these players in. I think that Bacon Time have more time to play with here as Shirty gets back up on his feet. That is a great molly. Will push them out to the side, but it's not quite enough. Doesn't do the damage, and there's a nade coming back their way. Another Molotov for Fluke gets sent, but the nade doesn't hit. That was so important.
You've got to hit that nade. Shirty behind the tree has the cover. 5 first aids will be able to heal. There's a nade in the pocket for Fluke. He needs to get a knock here. Noise is low. Healing off of the backline, but we'll be able to get it off. Peeks out wide. Shirty goes down. Fluke for a challenge and Vampire fall. It's bacon time. We said they needed it now, Blank, and they fire out from the water. They emerge victorious against Vampire, who are weaving their brutal thread through the cloth of fate. But this time around, it was not to be. Still, a big game for both of them.
Bacon time absolutely drenched coming out from this game, but the heat rises from them. You can see the steam pouring off the heads because that was a firecracker of a game coming through from them. The fact they were able to live out for so long and hear the shooting and take the opportunity to get to the coastal side, understand exactly where that hard cover was, that is very good knowledge of the game there coming through on Sandhawk, picking up that match. And VPE furious with that result. Those extra 3 points for the chicken dinner could have set them in a secure position towards the top. I am astounded by that game. It could not have been more difficult for a lot of these teams. HVP also, again, it's that slow play style, that careful play style that has rewarded them so much in the past, which is coming back to bite them on these absolutely hectic circles.
That hillside that they had to push off from is really one of their sticking points. On Sandhawk, they've died to it twice now on that very specific rotation. They just haven't been able to figure out how to play it, it seems, but they'll have to get a little bit further. What a way for Bacon Time to close things down as well, with a pretty healthy elimination count as well coming through. 31 points at the start of the game. They'll have a whole lot more than that now.
I really don't know how to start this segment here, gentlemen, because that was the wonkiest zone, the wonkiest finish out of Bacon Time, but it's a delicious finish nonetheless. 25 points for the team who desperately needed them. But besides the fact of them getting points they needed, what about Vampire Esports who get 25? Agon I8 who get 13, Titan who get another 12, and DRS get another 11 added to the board. Some big movers happening in this last match.
I think, Jason, it's fair to say that we're going to have some new teams potentially in the top 5. I mean, mainly looking at Vampire Esports, of course. I'm a new potential top 5 contender right now. But, I mean, Bacon Time, really, Sandstorm. I would say if they did not get this game right here, I think that they would be 100% out. But this one does add a question mark, like, can they climb back up? It's going to be tough, but this maybe opens up a door for them to make it happen.
It does, yeah, and it's not just that. Again, we have to look at the teams in the middle of the pack and seeing how they're performing, but putting up Noise's stats up against Fluke. Fluke almost managed to do it towards the end there. I'm surprised that he didn't use the nade a little bit early on. He might have been able to just take out the last 2 members of Bacon before the revive even came through, but still very well played for Vampire to secure this amount of points in these games so far. We've seen them end the day 1 with 25 points. One whole day with 25 points, and now they get those in just the 1 game. So it is a sensational comeback from them, and they should definitely be in the top 5 now, but can they hold on? That is the question.
Yeah, I mean, there's still, 3 matches left to go today. The job's not done quite yet for all these teams. And honestly, it's just going to get more and more stressful as the matches do go on. But the best way to relax after having a stressful day or stressful matches is at the Pullman Kuala Lumpur Bangstar Hotel, where our world is your playground. And one thing as well to add into that, what about Prime Gaming? You get yourself some free in-game PUBG Mobile rewards, some premium content, not to mention all the rewards that Prime Gaming has as well. So that's that one way you can de-stress. But they can't do it just yet. They still have the final matches to come. But what I'm mostly curious about is when we get to there is those overall standings, because teams They have to have an idea of where they're currently in the rankings. They have to know how many points they need or can afford to lose. And right now, we have seen Vampire break through 4th place, moving out Inco out of top 5.
And it's so unfortunate too, because Inco had a good game plan. It was, we're just going to go play center, we're going to get in a good position. Unfortunately, the center was on Northwest Island, and you know what that means when you're on Northwest Island? HVVP. And they learned that on the hard way, unfortunately, that game. So yeah, Inco, a little bit of a tough game this time around. We'll see if they can adapt, but Vampire finally able to breach in this top 5 position. It is looking great, but that's the thing, Sandstorm. It is so close towards the top between all of these teams that at the end, these top 5 teams can be completely different in the next 3 matches today.
Yeah, I mean, if you look towards the second page of the leaderboard, Besiktas, LGD still definitely have a chance in making it towards the top 5. And again, it's just the one team that they can actually compete with, because when you look at 4th place, there's a 30+ point difference between them, or around 27 to 30 point difference. So it's going to require them to have a performance this game and then get another big performance in the next game, which of course is going to be very unlikely for a lot of these teams. But for Nigma, for Egon IA, and for mostly for these two, definitely 100%. Unless we're seeing triple chicken dinners from one of these teams, I don't think they're going to make it, and it's pretty sure that they're not going to be in the top 5 for now.
I'm sure, Max, you saw something there that's kind of scary for you, for the sake of your eyebrows. Bigatron. Not looking good here. I mean, as you're just talking, Sandstorm, about needing to have 2 or 3 chicken dinners in a row, Bigatron need at least 1, I would say, for them to be in the running. They're starting to fall by the wayside here, and teams like Alpha 7, IHC, DRS, Titan, they're looking to lock in their position even further. I mean, if you're Alpha 7, you should know in the back of your mind, 1 more win, and we're through.
Yeah.
1 more really good game, we're through. And they can almost taste PMGC. What does it taste like? I don't know. But they can taste it.
Probably like a really good ice cream. I don't know. I'm just trying to imagine.
A really tasty chicken.
That too. I don't know. We're going in a weird direction right now, Jason. Save us. Save us.
I mean, I understand, Maxman, ice cream is your favorite treat. But, you know, it's my treat, seeing you guys' teams to watch. Let's take a look at what you both did. Select, Inco, Titan, LGD. Okay. Inco, IHC, and Bacon Time. Okay, so let's go with the LGD pick first of all here, Maxman. You did say earlier on you wouldn't pick them. I picked them for you, and then now you're picking them. So I don't know what to believe anymore.
It's not been working out. I didn't pick them. They're not able to perform, and I agree, especially with what Blank was bringing up during that game, which is sometimes they can look like one of the best teams in this PMGC period, and sometimes it just seems like they're entirely out of the conversation. And it feels like that's what we're seeing from them right now. We had that glimmer of hope from them yesterday, and now there's just nothing to show for it. And unfortunately, it seems like the further we go into these games, the more desperate it feels like they're trying to play. And it's just a desperate play style is not working for LGD. It's not working for BTR. We need to see a change of pace. And if it doesn't happen, I think it might just be too late right now.
Okay, well, speaking of too late, Bacon Time, is it too late for them, Sandstorm?
I would say this game would be their last opportunity. They need to get 15 points plus in this game in order to have a chance in the last 2 matches. If they don't, I think they're going to be out. When we're looking at IHC, they started off day 1 pretty strong. They had their first game with a 2nd place, 10 elims. You look at their last game as well, 2nd place, 9 elims. But other than that, it's just been a performance that's all over the place. And we're not seeing anything good from IHC throughout the first 3 games of today, and something definitely needs to change. For Inco, long story short, you guys started off strong. You even qualified through the strongest group in Group Green with a difference of 2 points, and now they're barely holding on to staying in that top 5 spot. So they need to kind of adapt a little bit, and we're going on the Wrangle, one of their strongest maps, so I'm hoping for a good performance from them.
All right, well, it's time to head into our next match of the day here with John and Blink once again to kick us back into Erangel.
I said, Blank, that after this game, after that Sandhawk, I was going to start to look at teams being counted out of the top 5. For now, Enigma Galaxy for me, bottom of the table. Oh, whoa! Something in my throat. But 32 points at the bottom of the table. I have no idea, Blank. Maybe it was... I'm not even gonna. Maybe it was Enigma Galaxy choking. But they are not going to be really within striking range of the top 5.
No, I wouldn't say so anymore. I mean, Enigma Galaxy, 16th place, 32 points. It is going to be extremely difficult for this team in the next few games to actually get up towards that top side. You're looking at back-to-back chicken dinners now, possible, but very unlikely to happen. Zuxi coming out, Luxi back in again for the team. We saw this guy do some amazing work towards the start of the survival stage, really putting the team on his back a lot of times. We'll see exactly how this works out. I think there was just a bit of miscommunication, and I will maybe put this down to the fact that, you know, they've had so many sub-ins and sub-outs at the moment. Not being able to have that consistent roster is hampering them a little bit, because they seem to have different ideas of what they want to do at moments in the game. I mean, Liquid wanting to push that, Zuxi hanging back for the res. I mean, you either do one of the two, and I think the result is the same, that they win that fight. If they both hung back, went for the res, and had one player hold off behind one of the vehicles or a bit of cover, play an off angle, they win that fight. If they both push together, they get the refrag, they win that fight. But the fact that one went forward, gave them the 1v1, and then one sat back and then just res, which means they're in a static position, you lose that fight 10 times out of 10. I think that is just a complete misplay on BTR's half. So I think that they need to figure out this roster they want to play over the rest of the day. I don't want to see any more subs come through, because this is now really the final chance for BTR. Currently sat quite far down the lobby with 13th place, 55 points. There's certainly a chance for them, but requires these chicken dinners. And remember, they've been given a fair few chances for them. On Sandknock, they had a fantastic compound. On Erangel, they've had some fantastic compounds, but unable to convert that into a big win is worrying.
HVVP forced to go for their backup drop again today in match number 10. 3 games left to play, including this one. Not ideal, but at this point, it might as well be their main drop, Blank. I feel like they've actually dropped here more over the course of this last chance tournament than they have actually been able to manage to get to North George. It's kind of crazy, the amount of South Plane path cuts we've seen.
Yeah, for HVP, I think they're more now prioritizing getting that loot on board early. It's pretty easy rotation for them. DRS like to leave that position up towards their northwest side quite quickly to get towards that edge side of the circle, so they can start playing inwards. DRS at this point in time, it's going to be very hard for any of these teams to actually get above them or at least overtake them in this top 5 position, just because the way that they're currently earning points is very consistent. They're rolling over those numbers every single match. Even when it seems very unlikely for that to happen, they're still grabbing those points. Remember to follow us on our social channels as well, guys, because we'll keep you up to date with anything that's coming through in the future, including certain rewards, any kind of crates that might be releasing, even our new and additional packages that we're adding to the game, and also when and where we'll be seeing that PMGC take place.
LGD, oh dear. YZ not dropping near a vehicle. Fortunately, Besiktas do not want to challenge this. LGD and Besiktas seem to be fighting quite a lot, quite early, in quite a few... it's back. Goodness me. In quite a few of the games.
What are you doing? Somewhat problematic going on there for you. I think you're just getting maybe choked up about these final games. You know, it's very emotional. I realise that, John. 100%. Some of our favourite teams might be going home here, but similarly, some of our favourite teams might be going through, so we can be jubilant as well as sad at the same time. It's absolutely fine. I'm not sure how we'd pull that off. You know, we'll have one side of our face in a frown, one side in a smile, pull off the full two-face action.
No, I'm just trying to sort myself out there. Western side on the circle. Going to open up those rotational paths, those routes. Past Potato Hill, probably going to be quite hotly contested. Seen a couple of teams vie for position there. Reject still dropping down towards Rozok. Going for quite a long drop. Might actually be able to stretch out towards Sunken. Down one, playing in the apartment, in the apartments. Just trying to get as looted as possible. No one too close by. They won't be super worried at this time. Besiktas, though, sharing Yasnaya with Bigatron.
This is one of the few circles we've actually seen head over towards this western side so heavily before. Gatka open now, so a lot of teams coming through from the eastern side. Now A7 are most likely going to be suffering the most because of this. They're right at the back of the queue. This is no longer a case of sitting pretty and making their way through slowly but surely towards the circle. I think there's definitely an opportunity for them to move up towards that northern side, but with LGD currently holding here as well as Besiktas and BTR, that's going to be another tight rotation for them to make. It's going to be difficult to squeeze through without feeling some of the nasty bristles coming through from BTR, LGD, and Besiktas through that location. Although they have made similar rotations before and been quite successful with it. In the meantime, HVP this might be a slightly more difficult rotation for them. I mean, I know I said the DRS like to move away from that position on the Western Bridge quite early, but this gives them the chance to stick around here for maybe a little bit longer, though with the way the circle's been panning out here with a central play from a lot of these teams, you'd expect DRS to maybe head up, pick one of these nice compounds early on, just purely with the amount of useless compounds in this area and the amount of high priority compounds in this area. DRS. Currently still moving upwards. Aegon down towards Sosnovka. I see in Novo. Bacon time. Also in Miltzer Power at the moment. So honestly, still feeling pretty good about them. I mean, they can move through, reject up towards Rozhok side. And Enigma Galaxy in Pachinki. A very typical position for them, a great spot for them to kind of ladder out on this game, try and climb up those rankings just a little bit. Considering they are so far down, though, we did say this is kind of a point in time where we feel like that is them just confirmed knocked out. Again, it would require a 30-point game to sit them steady with 10th place. But remember, that is profit they need to find on top of those matches as well, because most likely 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th, all going to find some more points this game to try and see themselves upwards. Inco, for the first time in a long time, now knocked out from top 5.
It's not ideal either at such a late juncture. 9 points behind that bubble. They will have to try and keep plodding along, but there are teams at their heels who are going to try and snap out that Achilles and make that a whole lot harder in the games to come. Drawing really, really close to the end here. Only a quarter of these games left to play. Down one, still playing a little bit split here. 3-1 right now with Inco on their south side.
Inco, like we said before, very central spot. Down one, close by, like you say. Picked up a position on the map that they could find fairly easily. And just moved directly to it. This time they're not thwarted by any of the teams that have already picked out that compound for them. So again, we don't get that flustering, we don't get that panic come through from Inco, which kind of spelt their doom on that last match. In the meantime, Alpha 7 do make that rotate that we were mentioning before, up towards Severny side over the top of Yasnaya. It was a tight rotation, but they nail it there, get right through that hoop despite the flames on all sides.
Keep themselves nice and warm in the process, hopefully. Even if they don't get burned, that's what they're hoping anyway. Vampire, ooh, Novello denied it by a cheeky little slow roll on. By Vampire around the side, LGD caught out by Mythic. Will be shot out as well. MVM going to go down in LGD, lose a player. The first to fall, and Mythic picks up first blood for Alpha 7.
Straight towards the position. This is what Alpha 7 wanted to do today, and they're executing on it very well. I mean, not necessarily always getting all the points or getting all the success from it, but what you can respect from a team is finding certain amount of success from something that they wanted to do. I mean, they mentioned they wanted to be more aggressive in taking positioning around the map. That's 100% what they've aimed to do, and they've found those spots, and it has resulted in wins. It's resulted in a lot of points as well. Piso spots Revo towards that blue side. If he gets knocked out here, very unlikely they'll be brought back in towards the fold. Has to hit the first aid kit. The Blue's not doing a chunk of damage at the moment, can just bandage that one back up, get the stims and get moving, but that will slow down the guys from A7, but they've got something to say about this.
People are looking at this rotation and thinking, hang on a minute, Alpha 7 did really well by rotating over the north of the lake, so let's all do it. 4 teams have moved through that area. It hasn't been great for any of them, really. Bigatron probably ahead of the curve on it and will be able to get ahead. But they're most likely going to have to push south of the river. They see that. They're moving into Rozhok North.
Oh, dear. Ooh, wow, okay, yeah. So second circle finally hits here. Inco will have to move for a bunch of teams. Pachinki at a little bit of a sore spot in the circle. The move around that means that a lot of these rotations will have to go through similar areas or towards that northern side or down towards the south. You're really going to be seeing a lot of traffic jams coming through. Besiktas still on their rotate downwards. Now Alpha 7 left out in the cold as they've got a long, long way to go on this one. Chung Si still in the back for LGD up towards Severny. Trying to regroup with the rest of his team in YZZ as well as Suki. struggling to find similar performance we've seen them before towards the top of the tables. Again, now looking back down towards the circle itself. Game Lord, I8, DRS, all in central spots. HVP just now making their move through, and a huge chunk of this ground split off by Quarry as well as the fielded area down towards that south side. It will be difficult to play this circle. A lot of open space. You're more than likely going to see a lot of teams struggling towards that end game in positions that we'd never want to see you in, which is laid down on the floor in the middle of a field, maybe behind a hay bale, which is your only hope in hell at making it through the game.
Would be far from ideal. Baker time on the east side. 12th position even after that chicken dinner.
As if.
It's unfortunate. Hey, Blank. Guess where Inco are?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is that it's so surprising to me that they've been able to find this rotate, and it's not been challenged whatsoever. I think that this is.
At this point, it can't be luck, right?
I mean, it's not luck, no, but this is the type of thing. Well, they're lucky in a way that no one's taken this at this point in time. So many teams had a lot of available time to get in towards this position. Yes, it's not the best compound, and I think they've realized that, which is why, you know, there's a more priority compound down towards the south side, which VPE have. So they take the leftover, essentially. But there should be other teams taking this spot. They're already much further towards the circle than them. I mean, they were up towards school side about 3 minutes ago, and now they make their way down. No one takes shots at them to get into this spot. This is not something that they'll get away with if they head towards the PMGC Grand Finals. This position should be taken up by that point in time, and crashing onto it, they will require a fight to get in. I don't think we've seen many times Inco have to take any kind of crashes, any kind of engagements for their compounds, and when they do, it really does not work out well for them.
This hillside that's in the middle, surrounded by fields, is only going to compound the issue of it being a central lobby, right? All of these teams focus generally on getting quite central, and the fact that there's so much, there's essentially a ring of difficult to play terrain around the center is just going to make things a little bit faster. A knockover towards the forward point from HVVP, who are still wildly split, is going to force a fast response from Kitsune.
Heading back up towards that high ground, I mean, it's not a bad spot whatsoever, and now with this high ground